Chapter 33:27. What? A saint's clone? So he wasn't a real saint? But that was still very terrifying. He had already surpassed Long Zhaotian and was second only to a real saint. How would he compare to Yan Nantian? But it was definitely terrifying. Could that demon king really be defeated? Everyone was discussing. The sickly man sneered after hearing that. I didn't expect you to have some eyesight and recognize my origin. However, this isn't an ordinary clone. This body of mine can unleash about 70% of my strength. You definitely won't be able to block it. The pale man's lips curled into a cold smile. Cut the crap. Let's fight and we'll know. Lin Xian held the great destruction spear in his hand. His voice was sonorous, and the demonic qi on his body was unparalleled. Reckless brat. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The pale man sneered and then waved his finger. Purple laws filled the sky and danced quickly. Divine chains of laws intertwined to form a purple gourd. The purple gourd bloomed with incomparable light. The flame aura on it was very terrifying. It was even misty. Purple cloud law. This was a very terrifying law. It had the power of both the cloud and fire laws. At this moment, it was really terrifying. Buzz. The purple gourd grew bigger, and the laws on it quickly revolved, forming a purple vortex. It could burn everything and seemed to want to suck Lin Xian in. Lin Xian roared and waved the great destruction spear. It carried the metal and annihilation laws. Boom! The metal law was incomparably sharp. The annihilation laws could melt everything. With this attack, they shot straight into the sky. The attack landed on the purple gourd. The purple gourd kept shaking. The metal law and the power of the great destruction spear caused the gourd's light to dim. The annihilation laws caused the flames to quickly disappear. After that attack, the purple gourd was sent flying. You're just S.O. Lin Xian sneered. The pale man opposite him changed his expression. Damn it. How could he be so powerful? It must be because of the great destruction spear. I want this thing. He reached out his hand and attacked. At the same time, the purple gourd floated above his head, spewing out purple flames. In front of them was a sea of fire, and the mist was hazy, making it hard for them to see clearly. They could only use their great gods to forcefully see. However, the more they watched, the more shocked they became. Lin Xian was really too powerful. The great spear of destruction struck out, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to buzz and tremble. Countless cracks spread out, and in the end, the purple gourd shattered and pierced through the man's body. Ah! The pale-faced man screamed crazily, trying to break free. However, the great destruction spear was an extremely terrifying weapon. How could he possibly break free? The purple cloud law quickly revolved around his body. Like a cloud, his body became faintly discernible and dim. Only then did he escape from the great spear of destruction. His body permeated the sky as if he had turned into a world of his own. A cold voice rang out, "Brat, I want you dead." However, in the next moment he screamed. Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul surged out from his body. It had the power to destroy everything. Together with the great destruction spear, it directly pierced through the purple clouds. Immediately, fresh blood flowed out. A miserable cry rang out, causing one's scalp to go numb. The pale-faced young man's body appeared from time to time. Sometimes it would condense and sometimes turn into clouds. It was very strange. How is this possible? You actually broke my laws. He was too shocked. Zhao Wuliang and the others were terrified. That was a great divine power of a saint. It could transform one's body into a world of its own. It could be said that its power was unparalleled. Those below the saint level could not do anything about it. However, the other party had done it. The other two saint clones also frowned. Their eyes emitted a biting cold light as they stared fixedly at Lin Xian. Yan Nantian also sneered. The others were stunned. The two saints of the Vermilion Bird Palace also frowned. I've said it before. I don't care about mere clones. Even if your true body comes, I can still kill it, let alone you. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous as he attacked again. He was too strong. He carried a sky full of demonic qi and charged over again. The pale-faced man was so angry that he roared crazily. As expected, he had never been treated like this before. He was a saint's clone. No one below the saint level was his match. The saint domain flew out, and the entire world turned purple. Terrifying energy roared. He wanted to use his powerful strength to suppress Lin Xian. The great dragon sword soul in Lin Xian's body rumbled. Gray flames danced on his body. The great destruction spear pierced through heaven and earth, directly piercing through the saint domain. In the end, the pale-faced man was pierced again and nailed to the ground. The tail of the great destruction spear shook, shattering heaven and earth. The miserable cry made one's scalp go numb. If we fight again, I'll destroy your body and soul. I admit defeat. The man hurriedly begged for mercy. There was no choice. He was no match for the other party at all. Perhaps it was, as the other party said. Perhaps only his true body could do this. Hearing that the other party had admitted defeat, Lin Xian withdrew the great destruction spear and stood in the void. The man absorbed the power of heaven and earth and returned to the stone platform. His expression was extremely ugly. Who else? Lin Xian asked in a clear voice. I'll do it. The other saint's clone stood up. Although he knew that the other party was powerful, he had to try it himself. Otherwise, he would be even more unwilling. Lin Xian looked at the other party and said in a deep voice. He looked at the two saints' clones. Damn brat! How dare you look down on us? The two saints' clones were instantly furious. Join forces to attack others? They disdained to do so. The others also felt their scalps go numb. What is this guy doing? Isn't he too arrogant? That's right. One clone might not be as strong as a real saint, but two clones joining forces is definitely not weaker than a real saint. Does this guy really think that he can resist them? Everyone was discussing. They all thought that Lin Xian was too arrogant. Being young and arrogant is probably not a good thing. Lin Xian said, if the two of you join forces, you still have a chance to fight against me. Otherwise, you're not my match at all in a one-on-one fight. You're not worthy to fight against me. Good boy, since you're courting death, don't blame us. The two saints' clones stood out. The two of them were very strange. One of them looked like a middle-aged man in his 40s, while the other looked like a young man in his late teens. Although their appearances were different, they were undoubtedly two old monsters. At this moment, they were the clones of two saints. Join forces to take him down. Then fight Yen Nantian. An extremely cold light burst out from their eyes. Chapter 30, 328. Everything was law. The young man, who was about 18 or 19 years old, roared angrily. Ghostly qi suddenly emerged from his body. His face also became incomparably ferocious. A ghost realm flew out from his body and danced nonstop. This person actually comprehended the ghost Tao laws. Many people exclaimed and felt their hair stand on end. Everything was law. Everything in the world could be comprehended into law. It just depended on whether you could comprehend it. However, most of the 5 elements were the easiest to comprehend. They were also the most basic laws. Of course, they were also the most difficult to cultivate to the top. Apart from that, there were also the evolved laws of the 5 elements such as wind, thunder, and ice. These laws were also very common. Of course, if a saint was powerful, it was very likely that they would comprehend rare laws, such as the Ghost Tao laws, or laws that were similar to synthesis. Once cultivated, the power would be extremely terrifying. At this moment, the Ghost Tao laws were truly terrifying. The entire world seemed to have become the Ghost Tao world. 10,000 ghosts ate the heart. The young man became the ruler of the Ghost Tao world. With a command, Countless evil ghosts appeared around Lin Xian. They wanted to tear his body apart and steal his heart. You overestimate yourself. Lin Xian sneered. An ocean instantly appeared around him, swallowing the evil ghosts. One after another, blue vortexes revolved around him. The ghost Tao and the water Tao laws collided, producing a sonorous sound. Tao, laws fragments. Looks like you're still a half-saint. You can't do anything to me. 100 ghosts parade. Kill them all. The young man sneered. Suddenly, a terrifying black shadow appeared in his ghost Tao world. The black shadow wore ancient black battle armor and held a black spear. It seemed that this was the leader of the 100 ghosts. Behind him, there were 99 extremely terrifying evil ghosts. The small ones were the size of a palm, and the big ones were the size of mountains. Each of them was incomparably ferocious. When the 100 ghosts attacked, they could bite everything to pieces. Even a saint's scalp would go numb. As expected, the Vermilion Bird Palace people's expressions changed. On the stone platform, the 12 prodigies looked as if they were facing a great enemy. However, it was not over. This time, the 2 saints joined forces. Another saint who looked like a middle-aged man also attacked. This person comprehended the Ice Tao laws. His 4 domains also enveloped Lin Xian. Their domains overlapped. Monstrous ice erupted, freezing the demon qi around Lin Xian. The 2 vortexes of the law of water also froze into ice sculptures. Lin Xian's body was frozen. Great white ghoul! Kill them all! The other sage's avatar laughed sinisterly. When the 2 sages' avatars joined forces, it was truly terrifying to the extreme. Not good. That person is in danger. Yes, he was too arrogant. He had underestimated the saint's clone. If it was just one attack, he might be able to block it easily. However, if 2 were added together, it would not be as simple as 1 + 1. It would definitely exceed his imagination. This person was probably going to be killed. An expert in the distance spoke. A cold smile appeared on Yan Nanshan's face. That was good too. It saved him the trouble of making a move. The northern monster became nervous. Yan Ryu frowned. However, at this moment, a cold voice came from the 2 sanctuary realm in front. Is that all you've got? What a disappointment. Boom! 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 Following his voice, the 9 heavens and 10 earths shook. The 2 sanctuary realm also shook. An extremely terrifying and low voice sounded. Then, boundless flames burned fiercely. Lin Xian's body shone with a boundless light. Then, the 2 sages' avatars were sent flying. Their sanctuary realm was broken. White Ghoul's night parade and ice world were all shattered. The 2 of them fell to the ground and vomited blood. Their faces were filled with fear. How was this possible? How could the other party be so powerful? As for the others, their expressions all changed. What was that? Oh heavens, why was there a golden light? Wasn't that demon qi? They were all stunned. The people of Vermilion Bird Palace also frowned. Yan Nanshan's pupils shrank. Could it be him? He stared straight ahead. His eyes were like divine blades that could cut through everything. The sanctuary realm in front of them was broken. A figure soared into the sky. The demon qi on his body disappeared. The golden light was like the sun. It scattered down, shining so brightly that everyone could not open their eyes. I've said it before. A mere sage's avatar is not enough. You are not my match at all. Lin Xian's sonorous voice sounded. The 2 sages' avatars trembled in anger, but there was nothing they could do. However, Yan Nanshan's expression changed drastically. He screamed, "It's you! Damn it, you're not dead!" He looked as if he had seen a ghost. To be honest, he was too shocked. If the person in front of him was really the great demon, he would not be too shocked. After all, the great demon was too terrifying. But now it was not the great demon, but the great demon's sworn enemy, the successor of the 9 sons. How could he not be dead? If the great demon was dead, how did he survive? That's right, it's me. Yan Nantian, are you disappointed? Are you surprised? Do you think that if the great demon is dead, I will die with him? You dare to kill with a borrowed knife? You will definitely die today. Lin Xian's voice resounded through the world. At this moment, the experts on the 12 stone platforms, as well as the surrounding spectators, were all stunned. Heavens, who is this person? Soon they learned from Vermilion Bird Palace. The successor of the 9 sons. It's him. What? The successor of the 9 sons? Didn't he die with him? Heavens, he did not die and even obtain the great demon's weapon. He had fought with the great demon before, so it was probably not difficult for him to transform into the great demon's appearance. Everyone understood why the demonic aura was so overwhelming. Why did he have the great spear of destruction? Why did he have to kill Yan Nantian? It turned out that the other party was not the great demon, but the successor of the 9 sons. And from the looks of it, the great demon seemed to be in cahoots with Yan Nantian. That was why the successor of the 9 sons wanted to kill Yan Nantian. Damn it, kill him. We have to kill him later. Vermilion Bird Palace's palace. Lord sent a voice transmission. The 2 sages' eyes were cold, but they did not immediately take action. If they took action now and the news spread, they would probably be under a lot of pressure. After all, the successor of the 9 sons could not be alone. There was a faction behind him. However, if Yan Nantian killed him, then even if the faction behind the successor of the 9 sons found out, there was nothing they could do. It was normal for geniuses to die in a battle. I'm really surprised that you're still alive. But so what? Since the great demon can't kill you, then I'll kill you myself. Yan Nantian rose to his feet. The illusions of the 4 godly beasts carried him and floated forward. At this moment, the geniuses on the 20 platforms also retreated frantically. They had completely left the battlefield and arrived near the spectators. They knew that an earth-shattering battle of life and death was coming. It would probably surpass everything. It was actually him. Long Zhaodian and Zhao Wuliang trembled. They finally knew why they couldn't defeat the other party. It was the successor of the 9 sons. Chapter 30, 329. Damn it. Successor of the 9 sons. The 3 sage clones gritted their teeth. It seemed that after this battle, they had to send out their true bodies. After all, everyone wanted the great spear of destruction. Kill. An angry roar pierced through heaven and earth. Lin Xian's body shone with a golden light as if he was a golden god of war. The great spear of destruction in his hand was pitch black. As he danced, he charged forward. This scene was extremely shocking. It was as if an emperor golden immortal king was fighting with a black dragon. This scene was something that these people would never forget for the rest of their lives. Boom! On the other side, Yan Nantian also made his move. The 4 divine beasts became more and more corporeal, as if they had been revived and circled around him. A terrifying aura swept through heaven and earth. That power caused everyone to tremble. Boom! The great spear of destruction transformed into a black dragon and rushed over, shaking the 9 heavens. At this moment, Lin Xian's strength was unparalleled. Fortunately, this was the primordial battlefield. Otherwise, they would have fallen long ago. Damn it! How could he be so strong? The people in the distance retreated once again and completely left the battlefield. They still had lingering fear in their hearts. The 3 sage clones also had ugly expressions. They did not expect that the other party had not used his full strength when fighting with them. Now, the other party's aura was even stronger than before. Was this the successor of the 9 sons? It was too terrifying. They felt that the successor of the 9 sons in front of them had surpassed the past. Indeed, the sage of the Vermilion Bird Palace frowned. The others were also discussing intensely. Although the successor of the 9 sons was strong and had one of the strongest physiques in the universe, he was not the strongest. There were many who could compete with the successor of the 9 sons, such as his old enemy, the Great Demon. In many previous battles, the Great Demon had suppressed the Nine Sons' bloodline. Therefore, in the eyes of everyone, the successor of the Nine Sons was not an invincible existence. If they wanted to kill him, the Great Demon clan could do it. But now, the successor of the Nine Sons in front of them had shocked everyone. He had killed the Great Demon and obtained the Great Demon's weapon. Now his combat strength was even more shocking. He had even defeated the successor of a great emperor. He was too strong. He was so strong that they found it unbelievable. Boom! Boom! In front, the four divine beasts attacked, trying to surround the great spear of destruction. The great spear of destruction danced crazily, bringing with it an incomparable murderous aura. Blood burst out from it. There were even all kinds of illusions. Those were the corpses of saints. It was rumored that the spear of great destruction was stained with the blood of saints. This illusion really made one's scalp tingle. Puff! The azure dragon and vermilion bird phantoms were pierced through, and the white tiger phantoms were knocked back. Only the black tortoise phantoms were able to withstand the attack with its powerful defense. The four illusions retreated. Yan Nanshan's expression changed. His opponent's aura had become even stronger than it had been in the valley. The four divine beast phantoms were no match for him at all. Yan Nantian, show me your true strength. This time I won't let you off. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous as the golden glow on his body became even more piercingly cold. Nine Sons, sword technique. Lin Xian used the spear as a sword and quickly danced. Rays of Nine Sons, sword qi rushed out from the great spear of destruction. The Nine Sons' sword technique was a sword technique of extreme yang. It destroyed everything. The entire ancient battlefield was enveloped by the golden sword qi. This aura made everyone feel despair. Even the two vermilion bird saints had grave expressions on their faces. True strength? Fine, I'll let you see it. Yan Nantian roared. In addition to the four divine beast phantoms, 9 more emperor runes appeared beside him. Each of them was incomparably terrifying and connected to heaven and earth. The runes of the earth appeared. The people in the distance exclaimed. The 3 saint clones' eyes were burning with passion. Even the vermilion bird palaces' saints' eyes were shining. Sure stared at the runes, wanting to see through the mysteries within. The two of them clashed like 2 immortal kings. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions on the ancient battlefield. At this moment, everyone was in a daze. It was as if they had returned to the ancient era. The 2 geniuses in front of them had turned into primordial god-fiends. Such an intense battle was like a dream. Perhaps even the powerhouses of the ancient era were no match for them. Boom! 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 After more than 1,000,000 collisions, Yan Nanshan's body trembled. His expression was gloomy and the blood in his body kept churning as if it wanted to rush out. He was about to go crazy. He was being suppressed by his opponent. How was this possible? The great spear of destruction. It must be the great spear of destruction. Do you think I don't have anything to subdue you? Saint Chariot, with an angry roar, a Saint Chariot rushed out of his body. It was a true sage artifact. As soon as it appeared, it brought with it a powerful divine might that suppressed the surroundings. Kill him. After using the sage artifact, Yan Nanshan's strength increased exponentially. He once again clashed with the great spear of destruction. The 2 of them fought until the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. Not long after, Yan Nanshan's expression turned ugly again. Damn it, he still couldn't beat his opponent. Now, the weapon's enhancement had been cancelled out. Could it be that his opponent was really stronger than him? How was that possible? He was the successor of a great emperor, no matter how strong his opponent was. So what? No successor of the 9 Sons had ever become a great emperor. At their strongest, they were only great sages. How could that kind of inheritance be compared to a true, great emperor's inheritance. Was he weaker than his opponent? How was that possible? Yan Nantian was so powerful, and his talent was terrifying. He thought that he was definitely not weaker than his opponent. What was that? The great dragon's sword soul? Only then did he remember that his opponent was not only the successor of the 9 sons, but also the successor of the great dragon. The successor of the great dragon had a precedent of becoming a great emperor. That was because the first successor of the great dragon, Shimen the Great, was very powerful. However, after Shimen the Great, the other successors of the great dragon could not become great emperors. Not to mention this generation. He did not believe that the great dragon's sword soul contained any great emperor's inheritance, because there had never been such a legend. Damn it! I'm the successor of a great emperor. I'm destined to become a great emperor in the future. I'm invincible. I won't fail. Go to hell. Yan Nantian roared crazily. Lightning god's physique. The 9 suns and countless lightning interweaved, causing Yan Nantian to transform into the thunder god's body. The powerful lightning body pierced through the 9 heavens. Those who were watching from afar were extremely envious. Heavens, the thunder god's body was not weaker than the 9 suns' divine body. It was forcefully evolved from a divine ability. Probably only a great emperor's divine ability could do that. It was really a creation of heaven and earth. Sun and moon splitting the sky. After displaying the thunder god's body, Yan Nantian raised his hands high. Immediately, runes soared into the sky, blooming with incomparable light. They turned into 9 suns and moons, rotating in the sky. Coupled with the great emperor's divine ability, it was extremely powerful at this moment. It was much more powerful than the power in the valley previously. Even Lin Xian was forced to retreat quickly. That power was enough to shock him. Chapter 33:30. Lin Xian retreated, but he didn't stop attacking. He unleashed his nomological mystique, the destructive fiery lotus. A huge lotus flower flew forward. With an aura that could destroy everything, the two collided. The sun and moon split open the sky, and the 9 suns quickly dimmed and then collapsed. The destructive fire lotus also dissipated in this energy. After that, the two retreated. Damn it, I don't believe it. Yan Nantian roared like a madman, but Lin Xian sneered. If I can kill you once, I can kill you again. Let's see how many Emperor regeneration talismans you have. He held the spear of destruction and rushed out quickly. The dragon's sword soul roared and rushed out of Lin Xian's body, fusing with the spear of destruction. Instantly, the power of the murderous weapon increased to an unparalleled level. At this moment, even the saint's expressions changed. Not good. Yan Nantian is in danger. A Vermilion Bird Palace saint frowned, and the Vermilion Bird Palace elders also had ugly expressions. Yan Nantian's pupils shrank. He naturally felt the threat. Last time, he was almost killed by the other party. If not for the Emperor Regeneration Talisman, he would still be seriously injured. Now that he was facing the same situation again, could he withstand it? Yan Nantian snorted coldly. Kid, I was careless when you ambushed me last time and didn't use my full strength. Don't even think about hurting me this time. He pushed the saint chariot to the limit. The chariot became huge and completely enveloped him. This was a saint artifact, and it could definitely protect him. With a wave of his hand, the 9 Emperor runes reappeared beside him. Sky-destroying finger. Endless laws turned into divine chains, circling around Yan Nantian's finger, forming a finger that reached the sky and fell from the sky. When the finger fell, the bodies of the surrounding people were about to split open. Not good, retreat quickly. Those people screamed crazily. This move was too terrifying. The Vermilion Bird Palace elders also split open and blood gushed out. Even the Vermilion Bird Palace master's expression changed. However, at this moment, the 2 saints of Vermilion Bird Palace opened their saint domains, blocking the terrifying energy waves. Only then did the people of Vermilion Bird Palace calm down. The surrounding people all hid behind the sacred domain. This Yanantian was too powerful. The three saint avatars had solemn expressions on their faces. Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuliang had ugly expressions on their faces. They were no match for him at all. 9 suns opened the sky. Lin Xian brandished the Great Destruction Spear and unleashed a world-shaking sword technique. Yin-Yang Locket. The heaven-destroying finger was pierced through by the Great Spear of Destruction. Yan Nantian once again used a powerful divine ability. At this time, Lin Xian had just finished using his ultimate move. His body was completely exhausted, and the energy he had gathered was unable to completely surge out. Therefore, Yan Nantian seized the opportunity. Between heaven and earth, the nomological fragments danced, forming 2 black and white divine ropes that instantly enveloped Lin Xian. With a crack that sounded like a clap of thunder, the black-white divine locked Lin Xian in the air. In an instant, it was as if he had been fixed in place, unable to move at all. The power in his body had been completely sealed. What was going on? Everyone exclaimed. Yanryu also frowned. She felt that this divine ability was too terrifying. Some of the older generation figures screamed. The Yin-Yang Lock, oh heavens, isn't this the legendary divine ability? Rumor had it that once the Yin-Yang Lock was used, it could seal all things in the world. Even a saint could not escape. That kid was unlucky. What? So powerful. Many people gasped when they heard that. There were also experts who were like living fossils whose eyes flickered. I finally know which great emperor's inheritance Yan Nantian obtained. The heaven-destroying finger, the Yin-Yang Lock, these were the inheritances of great Emperor Hongwu. Great Emperor Hongwu. The great emperor who pacified the 8 desolates? Everyone screamed. Great Emperor Hongwu was a very famous great emperor. When he became a great emperor, the myriad worlds were ruled by the dark, demonic beasts. Back then, he rose to power and defeated the dark, demonic beasts, regaining control of the myriad worlds. It could be said that he was extremely powerful. Who would have thought that his inheritance would be obtained by Yan Nantian? The successor of the 9 sons was really in danger. He definitely could not escape from the Yin-Yang Lock. Not to mention that he was only a half-sage. Even a true saint would not be able to escape from the Yin-Yang Lock. Sighs could be heard. Everyone fell silent. Yanryu frowned. The northern demon was also very nervous. Should we make a move? He asked. Yanryu shook his head and looked again. In the crowd, the Crimson Dragon was also anxious. He gritted his teeth. That damn kid, he should be fine. He was not too sure because the Yin-Yang Lock was too famous. The Yin-Yang Lock? Lin Xian was sealed in midair. He looked at the black-white divine lock on his body, which was like a suit of armor, tightly covering his entire body. At the same time, it sealed the power in his body. He felt that he could not use any power at all. Lin Xian's body shook, trying to break the Yin-Yang Lock. However, after trying for a long time, the Yin-Yang Lock did not move at all. It's useless. Stop struggling. Even if you're a saint, you can't break free. I'll get rid of you now. Yan Nantian drove the saint chariot over quickly. Boom! In an instant, Lin Xian was sent flying. Boom! Boom! The ground trembled. Lin Xian was knocked down, blood splattering everywhere. It was a saint artifact. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian vomited blood, and cracks appeared on his body. Those people were stunned. After being knocked down like that, a half-saint would definitely be turned into ashes. Even a saint would probably be smashed into pieces. However, this kid's body only had cracks. Not good. Yanryu screamed. The Crimson Dragon almost activated the array, but they held back. Lin Xian stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Break for me. He tried to use the 9-Yang body again, but he still could not break it. The yin-yang lock was indeed a Thearcha's ultimate skill. It was really amazing. It suppressed all of Lin Xian's power. Even Lin Xian felt that the power of the great dragon sword spirit was also suppressed. Damn it, he was too careless. He did not expect Yan Nantian to have such an ultimate skill. If he knew about the yin-yang lock, he would have saved some energy to keep an eye on him, to prevent him from using it. However, he did not know that at all. Therefore, after shattering the heaven-destroying finger, he was locked down by the yin-yang lock. It's useless. I said, stop struggling. Yan Nantian drove the Saint Chariot over again. The Saint Chariot was absolutely terrifying. With a single strike, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. A huge crack appeared on the ancient battlefield. Lin Xian was smashed into a deep pit. Buzz! Yan Nantian rode the Saint Chariot. His body was surrounded by 9 large runes and the phantoms of 4 divine beasts. He was like a celestial arch as he rushed over. He arrived in front of Lin Xian. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the great destruction spear. Then he forcefully snatched it. Lin Xian was now locked down by the yin-yang lock and had no power at all. Therefore, he was directly taken away. Blood flowed from his palm. Yan Nantian laughed at the sky. Chapter 30, 331. Ha 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 ha. Is the successor of the 9 suns very powerful? What can you use to fight me now? Yan Nantian held the great spear of destruction in his hand, and his aura erupted endlessly. Everyone trembled. He was too powerful. This was the successor of a great emperor, far surpassing the successor of the 9 suns. Even a true saint would not be able to survive in his hands. Is that so? I haven't lost yet. Lin Xian stood up and said in a sonorous voice, Haven't lost yet? Go to hell. Yan Nantian stopped laughing and flew out. The great spear of destruction instantly transformed into a poisonous dragon and stabbed towards Lin Xian. With a puchi, he pierced through Lin Xian's body. Then he raised Lin Xian high into the air. Lin Xian's blood flowed wildly. Golden blood dripped into the void, shattering everything. It turned into a golden sea of blood. Now, do you still dare to say that you haven't lost? You're already in the air. I can kill you at any time. But don't worry, I'll torture you to death bit by bit. I want to find out your secrets. Yan Nantian revealed a demonic smile. He naturally knew that Lin Xian had many secrets. Moreover, he was extremely tempted. If he could get them out, he would cultivate. By then, no one in the universe would be his match. Oh no! Yen Ruyu's expression changed when the northern demon approached. The crimson dragon gritted his teeth and a cold, killing intent appeared in his eyes. He could not help but want to make a move. The snow-white monkey was also so angry that he scratched his ears and cheeks. He even moved his little claws and was about to transform. However, at that moment, Lin Xian's voice floated out and resounded in everyone's ears. I told you I haven't lost yet. Hearing that, Yan Nantian sneered. The people of Vermilion Bird Palace were also disdainful. You haven't lost yet? Who are you kidding? However, they were soon stunned because they realized that a mysterious aura had appeared on Lin Xian's body. Then, the world changed drastically. In the sky, endless thunderclouds enveloped the primordial battlefield. That aura made even the saint's hair stand on end. Needless to say, the others were so scared that their bodies trembled. Some were about to pass out. Heaven's lightning tribulation. Was he going to transcend the tribulation? Could it be that he was about to break through? No, it wasn't Yan Nantian. It was the successor of the 9 suns. What? Those experts screamed. This was a sage tribulation. Was he going to break through and become a sage? Damn it, you want to break through? You want to break through to become a saint? To turn defeat into victory? Yan Nantian's expression also changed. This was truly a difficult enemy to deal with. The slightest carelessness would cause the other party to turn the tables. But you won't have the chance. I'll seal you away completely. The 9 monarch patterns around him floated out and hovered around Lin Xian, connecting with each other. Countless bolts of lightning interweaved, forming a starry diagram. Yin-yang heaven sealing formation. With the yin-yang locket as the center and the 9 monarch inscriptions as support, they could form a peerless formation. Rumor had it that the Hanggu Great Emperor had used the yin-yang heaven sealing array to seal off the endless void, sealing countless experts in the universe. It could be said to be terrifying to the extreme. Although Yan Nantian was only a half-saint with his means and the yin-yang heaven sealing array, it would not be a problem for him to seal a sage, let alone Lin Xian. However, he had underestimated Lin Xian. Lin Xian had been through hundreds of battles and narrowly escaped death. His experience was extremely rich. Therefore, the speed at which he detonated the heavenly tribulation was extremely fast. Yan Nantian's yin-yang heaven sealing array had just been formed when the sage tribulation had already descended. It directly struck Lin Xian's body, causing Lin Xian to grimace in pain. This was a sage tribulation. It was extremely terrifying. If one was not careful, even a sage would die. Moreover, Lin Xian's sage tribulation was not an ordinary one. It varied according to one's strength. Lin Xian was the successor of the 9 sons and the successor of the great dragon. He even had the mysterious, heavenly, secret, godly eyes. How could his sage tribulation be weak? It was definitely extremely powerful. Therefore, in this round, he did not use any divine abilities to resist. He could only rely on the strength of his physical body. For a moment, the 9 sons' divine body was charred black. Yan Nantian was also affected. The 4 divine beast phantoms on his body rotated and a crack appeared on them. Damn it! Why was this lightning tribulation so terrifying? Yan Nantian frowned. The surrounding people were even more frightened. The terrifying scene of divine lightning filling the sky made people tremble. They had never seen such a terrifying arena. Even the 3 sage clones and the 2 vermilion bird palace sages were stunned. However, in this situation, they did not dare to act rashly. The 2 sages hesitated. If they attracted fire and the lightning tribulation struck them, it would probably be a disaster for them. Because if they attacked during the tribulation, with their strength and aura, they would probably attract an even more terrifying heavenly tribulation. At that time, they would definitely be reduced to ashes. For a moment, everyone left the primordial battlefield. Yan Nantian also wanted to leave. He did not want to be struck by lightning for no reason. Moreover, it was a special kind of lightning tribulation. However, he could no longer leave because he was too close to Lin Xian. At this moment, he was holding the Great Destruction Spear in one hand, and Lin Xian's blood had already dripped onto his hand. Therefore, in an instant, he was also enveloped by the lightning tribulation. Damn it! Yan Nantian instantly stopped and pulled back the Great Destruction Spear. However, the Great Destruction Spear was caught by Lin Xian's body. He had no choice but to give up and leave first. After the lightning tribulation, he would come back to snatch the Great Destruction Spear and Lin Xian's corpse. Do you want to leave? Can you leave? Although Lin Xian had everything sealed, even if his divine body was sealed, his pure physical strength was incomparably terrifying. Yan Nantian had just moved when Lin Xian caught up to him. At this moment, the sage tribulation had already completely descended. Endless lightning turned into a sea of lightning, and each bolt was as big as a mountain. They carried an extremely terrifying aura of destruction. The sage tribulation had erupted. Ah! Lin Xian's voice rang out. Golden blood splattered in all directions. At the same time, Yan Nantian's crazy roar could be heard. Damn it, get out of my way! It was obvious that he had also suffered a violent impact. In the distance, everyone looked at this scene and felt their scalps go numb. It was too terrifying. The successor of the 9 sons was actually undergoing the tribulation at this time. This was not good. If he could survive the sage tribulation and become a sage, the situation would be reversed. Everyone was discussing. The Vermilion Bird Palace elders, palace masters, and sages all had extremely ugly expressions. However, they could only wait now. Yanruyu and the North Demon heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Lin Xian was indeed strong enough to be able to turn the tables under the yin-yang locket. The Crimson Dragon had a worried look on his face. Damn, is this kid really going to break through? Don't play too big. He did not believe that Lin Xian would break through to become a sage at this time. He knew that Lin Xian was extremely ambitious. He wanted to condense the 5 elemental laws. How could he only break through the fire laws? Chapter 3332. His guess was right. Lin Xian wasn't trying to break through. Instead, he wanted to use the power of the sage tribulation to break the yin-yang locket on him. The yin-yang locket was very powerful. It was a great emperor's mystique. Most importantly, it could seal and suppress everything, making Lin Xian powerless. With his own power sealed, he could only rely on external forces. The most powerful external force was the heavenly tribulation. It was a sage's heavenly tribulation. When the endless lightning spread and wrapped around him and Yan Nantian, Lin Xian smiled. The monstrous lightning was very terrifying. It directly penetrated his body. Not only him, but Yan Nantian's body was also full of holes. He screamed in pain. Golden blood flowed out of Lin Xian's body. It was a shocking sight, but he was smiling, because he felt the yin-yang locket on his body tremble. Some cracks had appeared on it. It wouldn't be long before it completely shattered. Boom! 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 Lin Xian's body was getting more and more damaged. He was basically unrecognizable. At this moment, there was a cracking sound. The yin-yang locket had completely shattered. Success! Lin Xian's eyes shone with a sharp light. The power in his body surged out like a tsunami. In the next moment, he immediately stopped breaking through. He used the great dragon sword soul as an array to seal the power that wanted to break through again. Then he used his mystique and nirvana rebirth. Boom! 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 The heavenly tribulation between heaven and earth seemed to have lost its target. So it gradually dissipated. In the distance, everyone was terrified. At the same time, they were very confused. What was going on? Why did the heavenly tribulation disappear? Could it be that he had become a sage? That couldn't be right. The few sage clones and the 2 sages from Vermilion Bird Palace frowned. They had passed the heavenly tribulation. It couldn't have happened in such a short time. Moreover, the heavenly tribulation just now was so terrifying. It was much more terrifying than theirs. How could such a heavenly tribulation disappear just like that? But soon, they realized that the heavenly tribulation had really disappeared. However, there was a golden sea in front of them. Inside, there was a golden silhouette that was being reborn from the flames. It was the successor of the 9 suns. Everyone screamed. Yen Ruyu, Crimson Dragon, and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Not good. That guy actually didn't die, and his recovery ability was actually so strong. The faces of the people from the Vermilion Bird Palace changed. Where was Yan Nantian? They quickly began to search, and soon found Yan Nantian off in the distance. His imperial tattoos were still swirling around him, and he was rapidly absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. However, that speed was still slower than rising from the ashes. Therefore, Lin Xian recovered in an instant. The spear of great destruction was seized by him, and he charged forward. With a loud boom, Yan Nantian's body, which had yet to fully recover, was pierced through and shattered into pieces. What? Had Yan Nantian been split open? These people were all crazy. Their minds were a little blank because the changes in the situation were too strange. Just a moment ago, Yan Nantian had picked on Lin Xian, making it impossible for Lin Xian to resist. But in the blink of an eye, Lin Xian displayed a domineering attitude. Rising from the ashes, he beat Yen Nantian into pieces. This scene was like a dream. It was unbelievable. After shattering Yen Nanshan's body, Lin Xian once again waved the Great Destruction Spear and used it. In an instant, the power of annihilation surged out. Under the support of the Great Destruction Spear and the Great Dragon Sword Soul, it was extremely powerful. Therefore, Yen Nanshan's shattered body began to rapidly dissipate. Even his flesh and blood disappeared. What kind of power was this? It was so terrifying. When everyone saw the black light of the laws and the disappearing flesh and blood, they all gasped and felt their bodies turn cold. Yan Nantian also screamed in fright. It was this power again. Last time, he was almost destroyed by this power. He didn't expect to encounter the same situation again. Damn it, the Yin Yang locket was broken by the other party. It was really unbelievable. Escape. Yan Nantian summoned the 9 imperial tattoos. They bloomed with light and enveloped him. He escaped into the void, trying to dodge this attack. Great emperors had endless means and were incomparably mysterious. If it was a sage facing Yan Nantian, he might really be able to escape. However, Lin Xian wouldn't. Lin Xian merged the Great Dragon Sword Soul into the Great Destruction Spear. With a sword, he could cut through mountains and rivers. The power of the Great Dragon Sword Soul destroyed everything. The void was cut open, and Yan Nantian was deeply shaken out. Like I said, you can't escape. A loud and clear dragon roar resounded in the world, resounding throughout the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Kill! The terrifying dragon roar, mixed with the black light, swept forward. Yan Nantian was once again attacked. Damn it! Yen Nanshan's face was incomparably ugly. He was severely injured in the lightning tribulation and had yet to fully recover. Then he was torn apart by Lin Xian. Now he was being chased by Lin Xian. He couldn't recover to his peak. Even though Lin Xian was injured earlier, his aura was even more terrifying than before due to the rebirth of desire. Sky-destroying finger. Steel of sun and moon. Yen Nantian used the sky-destroying finger with his left hand and formed a seal with his right hand. Above it, the sun, moon, and stars revolved, as if a heavenly monument was suppressing. The 2 peerless Abhijnas charged toward Lin Xian at high speed. Destruction fiery lotus. 9 suns opening sky. Lin Xian also used his divine ability. The terrifying sword technique swept across heaven and earth. The 4 divine abilities collided in the sky, erupting with dazzling light that swallowed everything. At this moment, Yan Nantian smiled. He formed another seal with his palm, and an unparalleled aura burst out from his eyes. Yin Yang locket. Between heaven and earth, the Yin and Yang chi flickered and turned into 2 divine locks that quickly shrouded Lin Xian. As long as the Yin Yang locket succeeded, Lin Xian wouldn't be able to use any divine abilities no matter how powerful they were. Oh no, it's the Yin Yang locket again. Lin Xian was probably infected. Yes. Could he attract another heavenly tribulation? Everyone exclaimed. Yen Ryu and the Crimson Dragon were extremely nervous. The people of the Vermilion Bird Palace laughed. They knew that Yan Nantian wouldn't lose. The Yin Yang locket was very strange. In an instant, it appeared in front of Lin Xian out of thin air, wanting to seal him completely. Lin Xian snorted coldly. You're too naive. Do you think I won't be prepared this time? Buzz. The fragments of the law of earth revolved around his body, forming 2 large stone palms. Each of them was like a huge mountain that pushed forward forcefully. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of an intense collision shook the 9 heavens. The light that filled the sky made people tremble. It was like a demonic light that could destroy the world. The Yin Yang locket was very terrifying. Ordinary law fragments couldn't break it at all. Therefore, the 2 stone beasts only lasted for a moment before they were pierced by the Yin Yang locket. However, this short moment was more than enough for Lin Xian. His body soared into the air like a giant dragon, soaring upwards. Chapter 33. The great spear of destruction in his hand moved, erupting with dazzling light. It turned into a fiery lotus, enveloping yin and yang. Boom! The yin-yang locket was shattered by this destructive force. Was it dodged? Countless cries of surprise rang out. The expressions of the people from Vermilion Bird Palace changed. Yan Nanshan's heart sank. Damn it, his opponent actually dodged his attack. To be honest, although he didn't want to admit it, if he couldn't lock down the other party's strength, he seemed to be unable to defeat the other party. The great emperor's mystiques were extremely powerful. In the past, he could easily kill his opponent with just one of them, regardless of whether it was the thunder god's physique, the sun and moon splitting the heavens, or this finger of extermination. They could basically destroy the enemy with ease. Even against a saint, 2 or 3 of them would be enough to deal with him. Now he had basically used everything he could. There were still some exceptional superpowers that he could not use because his cultivation was not high enough. That was something he was prepared to cultivate after breaking through to the saint realm. It seemed that he could only fight to the death. Han Gu opened the heavens, and Zhang Xian returned. The aura on Yan Nanshan's body exploded to an unbelievable degree. The 9 monarch marks revolved around his finger as he pointed forward. This finger was not aimed at Lin Xian, but flew towards the 9 heavens. Boom! In an instant, a huge hole was pierced in the sky. It was pitch black and seemed to be connected to the outer universe. Everyone could see the faint, twinkling starlight inside the pitch black hole. At that moment, the 9 great emperor runes were floating in the black hole. They were bobbing up and down like 9 stars. They were shining with dazzling light. Below him, Yanantian continued to form hand seals. The 9 monarch marks above him rotated rapidly, forming a marvelous star map. The star atlas rolled and shone brightly, forming a strange Tao pattern. A terrifying and vast aura was emitted from it. As soon as this aura appeared, all living beings in the 9 heavens and 10 earths trembled. Below, countless people were pressed to the ground, their bodies trembling. Long, Zhao Tian, Zhao Wuliang, and the others were the same. They resisted with all their might, but many cracks appeared on their bodies. The 3 saints' avatars screamed crazily as they hurriedly opened their sacred domains to defend themselves. The people of the Vermilion Bird Palace were also heavily injured. Those elders couldn't hold on at all. The 2 saints' expressions changed drastically. He opened up his saint domain like a madman and said, "If you don't want to die, get out of here." Everyone retreated madly. 10 million miles, 20 million miles, all the way until they were 50 million miles away. Only then did they stop. However, even with that being the case, that frightening aura still caused their bodies to turn ice cold. What's going on up ahead? This place was already somewhat blurry, but how powerful were the 2 great sages? Using the array, they immediately projected the scene in front of them. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky, only to see the star map churning with a powerful force. Even Lin Xian reacted as if he was facing a great enemy and quickly retreated. He placed the spear of great destruction in front of him, and the terrifying sword Qi formed a lotus flower that enveloped him. On the other side, Yanantian was not in a good state either. His body was also cracked, and he even spat out blood. Clearly, it was still too much for him to use this ability at the moment. Although it's a bit exhausting, you're dead for sure, kid. I don't believe you can survive this attack. Yan Nanshan's cold voice was heard, and he laughed. At the same time, the expressions of the people in the distance changed. Even Lin Xian's pupils constricted, because he realized that something had appeared in the star map above. It was the shadow of a pagoda. It was very blurry, and only the shape of a pagoda could be seen. However, the aura emitted from it was too terrifying. Is it the desolate pagoda? Lin Xian was extremely shocked because he felt as if he was facing the desolate pagoda of the Jade Lake, sacred ground. However, The desolate pagoda was an extreme weapon. Damn it! Could it be that Yen Nantian has an extreme weapon? Sure enough, the 3 sage clones in the distance screamed crazily. This aura had surpassed a sage weapon. It's an extreme weapon. Damn it! Does Yen Nantian have the emperor weapon of Emperor Hongwu? What? Emperor Hongwu's extreme weapon? Rumor had it that Emperor Hongwu had a terrifying extreme weapon, the hidden immortal pagoda. Could it be that the pagoda was the hidden immortal pagoda? When these words came out, everyone was stunned. An extreme weapon was the most powerful weapon in the universe. It was the exclusive weapon of a great emperor. Even if a great emperor died, an extreme weapon would not disappear. Some extreme sage truths had extreme weapons, but they did not expect it to be in Yen Nantian's hands. Everyone swallowed their saliva, and some even wanted to run away. Once an extreme weapon was used, it could definitely pierce through this world. If it was stronger, it could destroy the entire Sazaka planet and turn everything on it into ashes. No one doubted it. Damn it! Do we really have to let that guy turn the tables? The Crimson Dragon clenched his teeth in anger. Although he had been comprehending the heaven puzzle and had set up a peerless formation around him, it was impossible to use such a formation to resist an extreme weapon. However, one person only frowned and then sneered. An extreme weapon? However, it was not a real extreme weapon. It was just an illusion formed by a wisp of aura summoned from the starry sky of the universe. The one who spoke was Yen Ryu. At this moment, her body was emitting a mysterious green light. There seemed to be a terrifying force in her body that was about to erupt. However, it was being controlled by Yen Ryu. As soon as she said that, everyone around her was stunned, especially the 2 sages and the 3 sages' clones. They all cried out in surprise. It was not a real extreme weapon, but an illusion that was summoned. They carefully sensed it and then screamed. It was indeed the case. This news caused a huge commotion. It seemed that the hidden divine pagoda was not in Yen Nantian's hands, but in a corner of the universe. At this moment, Yen Nantian used Great Emperor Hongwu's peerless spell to summon the extreme weapon in the corner of the universe, thus creating an illusion. However, even if it was just an illusion, it was still extremely terrifying, because the 3 sages and the 2 sages were facing a powerful enemy. Even if they faced it, they would not be able to stop it. They could only run away like crazy. An illusion? Lin Xian's eyes flashed with golden light. He naturally saw that the blurry pagoda was not a real weapon. Kid, don't be arrogant. Even if it's the illusion of an extreme weapon, it's not something you can stop. So you can die now. Yen Nantian's hands suddenly moved downward. More cracks appeared on his body, but he did not care. He revealed a hideous smile. In the sky, the illusion of the mortal bearing pagoda suddenly descended from the star map. Chapter 33-34. This attack was too terrifying. The entire ancient battlefield trembled violently, and many large cracks appeared on it. One could imagine how terrifying the surrounding force was. Lin Xian's sword Qi Lotus instantly shattered. Lin Xian also kept retreating. He felt great danger. The 9 suns' divine fire on his body was suppressed, and even cracks appeared on his body. Golden blood once again floated out. So terrifying. This should be your final trump card. Lin Xian saw Yen Nantian spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. He knew that Yen Nantian must have used a peerless divine ability by force. Thinking about it, this should be the strongest divine ability that Yen Nantian could use at the moment. Thinking of this, he let out a roar. So what if it was the illusion of an extreme weapon? He had fought against a true extreme weapon before. Hidden immortal pagoda? Lin Xian's eyes shone with a piercing cold light. Then the dragon's sword spirit flew out from the great destruction spear and quickly condensed in front of him. Lin Xian, on the other hand, let out a roar as he sucked in all of the formless energy from all directions into his mouth and infused it into the great dragon's sword soul. The light on the dragon's sword spirit became even more terrifying. It was incomparable. A loud dragon roar shook the 9 heavens. At this moment, the dragon's sword spirit's appearance was also changing. It also turned into the shape of a pagoda. It was incomparably exquisite, and there was even rust on it. However, the aura it emitted was also extremely terrifying. What is this? After the dragon's sword spirit transformed into a pagoda, the aura immediately swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The martial artists watching from afar changed their expressions again. They felt as if their hearts were about to be crushed. Impossible. Could it be that this guy also has the illusion of an extreme weapon? They were all stunned. However, the northern monster, Yenryu, and the others all cried out in alarm. The reason for that was because they recognized what Lin Xian had transformed into, the ancient Desolation Pagoda. This was the extreme weapon of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, the ancient Desolation Pagoda. As expected, Yantian also recognized it. The ancient Desolation Pagoda? You think you can transform it into the ancient Desolation Pagoda? Can it be compared to my hidden immortal pagoda? You're overestimating yourself. Let me tell you how terrifying an extreme weapon is. Yantian roared. Everyone heard it. What the successor of the 9 suns had conjured was also an extreme weapon. Before they could figure it out, a shocking collision occurred in front of them. The hidden immortal pagoda and the desolate pagoda, the two illusions clashed together. The 9 heavens and 10 earths were collapsing. The immemorial battlefield immediately cracked open. Lin Xian and Yantian were also sent flying backwards, engulfed by the torrent of energy. Retreat quickly. After retreating 50 million miles away, the crowd retreated again until they were 80 million miles away. Only then did he look ahead. They waited for about a day, but the energy in front of them still hadn't dissipated. It was still chaotic. No one dared to approach him. Even the saints could not see through him. It was only at this moment that they began to wonder why the successor of the 9 suns was able to conjure the ancient, desolate pagoda. Furthermore, that power was so terrifying. Could it be that the divine dragon behind the successor of the 9 suns also had a powerful weapon? Thinking of this, everyone was shocked. The people of the Vermilion Bird Palace had extremely ugly expressions. After waiting for another 3 days, the violent energy in front of them slowly dissipated. In front of them, the sounds of intense fighting could be heard. Lin Xian and Yantian were fighting again. It seemed that the hidden immortal pagoda that Yantian summoned had been destroyed. Impossible. Damn it. How was this possible? Yantian was going crazy. What he summoned was a real phantom of an extreme weapon. It wasn't an illusion. However, the aura of an extreme-grade weapon was enough to kill everything. Even if a saint came, he would still die here. However, it was blocked by the other party. Damn it. Was the ancient, desolate pagoda that the other party had conjured really comparable to an extreme weapon? How could this be? The people in the distance were also stunned. They also couldn't understand how the phantom that Lin Xian summoned could be compared to the hidden immortal. These people flew forward again, wanting to observe more carefully. They even wanted to see through Lin Xian's secret. To be honest, Yantian's injuries were very serious. His body had been damaged by the impact of the energy just now. If he hadn't mastered her secret technique, he probably wouldn't have been able to recover. However, Lin Xian recovered faster than him. Yantian even wanted to use the Emperor Regeneration Talisman to quickly revive and kill the other party. However, he resisted in the end. The Emperor Regeneration Talisman was a life-saving technique. It was extremely precious. Even he didn't have many left. Unless it was a last resort, he wouldn't use it again. In front of them, the battle was still extremely tragic. Lin Xian was too strong and he had an indomitable aura. Yantian was also very strong. However, It seemed that this battle and the situation of almost being killed had made him flustered and exasperated. Now that the hidden immortal pagoda couldn't kill the other party, his confidence was shaken. Naturally, his aura was weakened. Therefore, how could he be a match for Lin Xian? In the end, his heart cracked. The spear of destruction arrived in front of the other party. Yan Nantian used the sage chariot to block it, but he couldn't block the dragon's sword soul in the spear of destruction. The dragon's sword soul turned into a flying sword and instantly cut open his head. Even his soul was injured. Yan Nantian screamed like a madman and used the Emperor Regeneration Talisman to escape into the distance. The peerless sword light of the dragon's sword soul had yet to disappear, but Yan Nantian was already escaping. An ancient Emperor Talisman, the size of a palm, wrapped around him and flew quickly. The Emperor Talisman emitted an unparalleled light, causing Yan Nantian's aura to recover rapidly. As for Lin Xian, he held the spear of destruction and chased after him. "No! Stop him!" Yan Nantian screamed. The Emperor Regeneration Talisman needed some time to recover. If he was caught during this time, he would be finished. That's not right. The Emperor Regeneration Talisman should be able to recover instantly. Why does this guy still need time? Below, the Crimson Dragon was very surprised. Yan Rui's eyes also flickered as she stared at the escaping light. Soon they all smiled. This was because they realized that the Emperor Regeneration Talisman wasn't as good as before. There were broken corners on it. It seemed that it wasn't a complete Emperor Regeneration Talisman. No wonder it needed some time to recover. Seeing this, the two Vermilion Bird sages moved. One of their saint domains enveloped Yan Nantian. They protected him. The other slashed forward like a heavenly blade. In an instant, they cut off Lin Xian's path and charged towards Lin Xian. With a clang, they collided with the spear of destruction. Lin Xian was knocked back and stopped his pursuit. The other people in the surroundings all rushed over. One of the sages stared coldly at Lin Xian. Chapter 335. Lin Xian was not afraid at all. Flames filled the sky, and his killing intent was extremely strong. What? Is the Vermilion Bird Palace trying to break the rules? You want to interfere in the final battle? That's the center of attention. Lin Xian sneered. The others were also in an uproar. That's right, this is the battle to determine the final ranking of the Vermilion Bird Leaderboard. The battle between the two of them will determine who is first on the Vermilion Bird Leaderboard. But now a sage is interfering. Is the Vermilion Bird Palace cheating? Humph. The Vermilion Bird Sage snorted. A battle is a battle. Who allowed you to kill? You can't kill? What a joke. Lin Xian sneered and waved his finger. Suddenly, the illusion of the Vermilion Bird Palace Master speaking appeared in the sky. That was the rule that the Vermilion Bird Palace Master had mentioned before. In this battle, any means could be used and killing was allowed, regardless of life or death. The appearance of the illusion was a slap to the sage's face. The sage's face darkened and his body trembled in anger. Suddenly, two divine consciousnesses flew out of the holy realm and turned into divine light that pierced forward. However, Lin Xian used the great spear of destruction to cut them in half. Lin Xian's eyes were like rainbows as he looked into the distance. He knew that it was impossible to kill Yan Nantian this time, and he did not plan to kill him so easily. Therefore, he said loudly that he wanted someone to interfere. This meant that Yan Nantian had lost. I've won this battle. Now who else dares to fight me? Lin Xian did not pay attention to these people. Instead, he looked at the participants below. After these cultivators felt Lin Xian's gaze, their scalps went numb and they all shook their heads. Lin Xian looked up at the sky. All right, the first on the Vermilion Bird Leaderboard is mine. He waved the great spear of destruction and shattered the 9 heavens. Lin Xian's aura rose to the extreme. and no one dared to look him in the eye. Even the sage, standing opposite him, frowned. Behind him, Yen Nanshan's figure appeared in the Holy Realm. At this moment he had completely recovered, but his face was still extremely cold. He stared straight ahead. When Lin Xian saw the other party, he laughed coldly. "What's wrong? A coward who only dares to stand behind a saint? Do you dare to come over and fight to the death? Absolute your sister." Yan Nantian almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He wanted nothing more than for the two Vermilion Bird sages to attack and kill the other party. However, even the Vermilion Bird Palace wouldn't have the face to do such a thing in front of so many people, right? If this were to spread to all the swords in the heavens, they would be utterly humiliated. Therefore, he could only snort coldly and refuse to reply. At this moment, the Crimson Dragon below sneered. What's going on? Was the Vermilion Bird Palace a sore loser? Now that victory and defeat had been decided, could it be that he still wanted to renege on his debt? That's right. If I knew this was going to be a competition like this, I wouldn't have come either. Northern Demon also shouted coldly. Immediately, the surrounding people started discussing. Many people were already hostile towards the Vermilion Bird Palace because their disciples had been thrown out by the Vermilion Bird Palace. This had long caused dissatisfaction. Now all kinds of talk are going on. Palace Lord, what should we do? The elders of the Vermilion Bird Palace quickly asked. They didn't know what to do about this situation. The Vermilion Bird Palace master's face was terrifyingly dark, but there was nothing he could do. He said that the successor of the 9 sons had won this round. When these words were said, everyone was in an uproar. Northern Demon and the Crimson Dragon, on the other hand, laughed. Yan Ryu also revealed a beautiful smile. However, Yen Nanshan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. He didn't say a word. The other participating prodigies also sighed and shook their heads. It seemed that they hadn't expected this result. The final winner wasn't Yen Nantian, but the successor of the 9 sons. Is there anyone else who isn't convinced and wants to challenge me? Lin Xian's voice was sonorous as he looked at the remaining participants. The remaining participants all shook their heads. Even Yen Nantian wasn't a match for him, let alone them. Since you don't want to challenge me, I'll be the champion of the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. Do you have any objections? Everyone shook their heads, without any objections. Lin Xian smiled in satisfaction when he heard that. He raised his head and looked at the Vermilion Bird Palace. Could they announce the final result? Nonsense. You're the only one on the Vermilion Bird leaderboard. What's the big deal? The others haven't been announced yet. Oh, is that so? All right then, let them do it. Lin Xian looked at these people. However, Northern Demon, Yan Ryu, and the others shook their heads. I've decided to withdraw. I'm not interested in participating anymore. Other than the 2 of them, the rest of the participants also gave up. To be honest, after watching Lin Xian and Yen Nanshan's battle, they felt even more defeated. So what if they were in second place now? They knew that they were still no match for the 2 of them. They were left far behind. This kind of despair made them lose the mood to fight. It seemed that they didn't want to fight, so it was better to announce the results. Lin Xian looked at the Vermilion Bird Palace again. The elders were so angry that they vomited blood. The Vermilion Bird Palace master was also so angry that he gritted his teeth. He swore in his heart that he would find a chance to kill the other party. However, at this moment, Yen Nantian spoke. How arrogant! As expected of the successor of the 9 sons, and the successor of the Great Dragon, right? Don't you think so, Lin Wuti? Yen Nanshan's words were surprising, but his words were even more shocking. The news was like a clap of thunder that resounded in all directions. Everyone was stunned. What did he say? The successor of the 9 sons, or the successor of the Great Dragon? What did he call that person? The successor of the 9 sons was called Lin Wuti. Heavens, wasn't Lin Wuti ranked first on the Abyss leaderboard on par with Di Ling? So he was the successor of the 9 sons. Exclamations and discussions sounded. If Yen Nantian was right, then this matter was too serious. They finally knew why Lin Wuti was so terrifying. It turned out that he was the successor of the 9 sons. However, some people screamed because they felt that another piece of news was even more shocking, and that was the successor of the Great Dragon. The successor of the Great Dragon. The successor of the Great Dragon Sword. Heavens, that was an inheritance that was even more terrifying than the 9 sons. They didn't expect him to get it too. No wonder he could defeat Yen Nantian. Some people were at a loss at first. What was the successor of the Great Dragon? However, when some of the older generation spoke, they were extremely shocked. The Great Dragon Sword, one of the 5 swords of the world, had appeared? They stared at Lin Xian with burning eyes. This was a legendary offensive saint art. Didn't they see how he defeated the successor of a great emperor with the Great Dragon Sword? If they got it, their battle strength would increase rapidly. Not good. The Northern Demon, Yen Ruyu, and the Crimson Dragon's faces changed. Damn it, this guy actually leaked Lin Xian's secret. In fact, this wasn't much of a secret. Almost everyone in the true spirit world knew that Lin Xian was the successor of the 9 sons and the successor of the Great Dragon. However, Lin Xian was the palace master of the Immortal Palace back then, and there was a super sage behind the Immortal Palace. Lin Xian even had a good relationship with the Jade, Lake, Sacred Ground, and the Yi family, who dared to touch him back then. But now it was completely different. Lin Xian left the true spirit world and stepped on the ancient Star Road. Moreover, he went on the road alone without a protector. Chapter 33-36. There were countless powerful cultivators on the ancient path of stars, and the large sects and families were as numerous as the stars in the sky. If these people wanted to attack, it would really be dangerous. Moreover, it would be even more dangerous if they alerted some terrifying great sage or super sage from all the worlds in the universe. It was over. The situation was getting difficult. Unless this kid joined a faction and sought protection, such as Yen Nantian joining the Vermilion Bird Palace. Apart from the fact that the Vermilion Bird Palace could provide more resources, it could also provide protection and deterrence. After all, if a sage attacked, Yen Nantian would probably not be able to escape. However, joining a large faction would be a deterrent. As expected, the 3 sage avatars' eyes were burning. It seemed that their true bodies had to come immediately. The 2 Vermilion Bird sages also had the same idea. For a moment, everyone was eyeing Lin Xian covetously. Lin Xian also frowned. That damned Yen Nantian really knew how to cause trouble for him. However, since he dared to fight Yen Nantian, he had already thought of this and had the Crimson Dragon set up a peerless array around him. Therefore, he remained calm. The next moment he said in a deep voice, "Since you've decided that I'm the champion, then give me the champion's reward." There's no rush for the reward. Lin Gongzi is the champion of the Vermilion Bird list, so he hopes to come with me. The Vermilion Bird Palace will treat him well. The other contestants also went together. The Vermilion Bird Palace. Lord chuckled. Lin Xian's expression changed. The Crimson Dragon also panicked. Damn it, no. If Lin Xian entered the Vermilion Bird Palace, he would definitely be trapped. If he wanted to come out again, he would probably die. Therefore, he definitely couldn't enter. Yen Ruyu and the others also became nervous. Lin Xian's expression also changed. Damn it, to be honest, he didn't want to go either. However, what if the Vermilion Bird Palace really didn't give him a reward? He came this time for the Tao of Earthstone. If they didn't give him a reward, everything he had done before would be wasted. Could it be that he really had to go in? However, the price of going in was too high. Who knew how many saints were waiting for him in the Vermilion Bird Palace? F***CK. Vermilion Bird Palace. Yen Nantian, I'll remember this. One day I'll tear you to shreds. Lin Xian gritted his teeth. Just as he was in a dilemma, a voice rang out. There's no need to go to your Vermilion Bird Palace. Lin Woody came with me this time. After he gets his reward, I have to send him back." As soon as this was said, everyone was in an uproar. Was someone going to stand up for Lin Woody? They wanted to see who was behind Lin Woody. In an instant, everyone turned their heads to look. Even the people from Vermilion Bird Palace frowned. In the next moment, they saw a figure rise into the air. This was a middle-aged man. He wore a starry robe and looked very dazzling. He came to the void and countless starry rays flashed under his feet. What a mysterious aura! The surrounding people were all shocked. However, the Vermilion Bird Palace's palace master cried out in surprise. "Langia Palace, you're from the Langia Star." "Yes, I am." The man in the star robes nodded his head calmly. The people around him started to cause a ruckus. Was he from the Langia Star? The Langia Star was actually behind Lin Woody. Everyone was very shocked by the Langia Star. They were not unfamiliar with it because the Langia Star's reputation on the ancient path of stars was much greater than that of Vermilion Bird Palace. Countless people wanted to go to the Langia Star to seek answers to their questions. Lin Xian was also stunned. He had not expected the Langia Star to appear at this time. It seemed that the Langia Star had been following him silently in order to test his strength. The person in front of him must have seen everything that had happened in the previous battle. Now that he had confirmed his strength, he had come to save him. After all, he still had to go to the Void Ocean for the Langia Star in the future. Therefore, he nodded at the person from the Langia Star. "So it's a friend from the Langia Star. You've come all the way here. Why don't you stay in the Vermilion Bird Palace for a few days?" The Vermilion Bird Palace's palace master spoke again. However, the man in the star robes shook his head and said, "There's no need. Hurry up and give us the reward. We still have things to do." At this point, he changed the topic. Could it be that the Vermilion Bird Palace wants to go back on their word? Or do you want to be blacklisted by the Langia Star? As soon as he said this, the expressions of the people from the Vermilion Bird Palace changed. Both sides were super factions, but the other side did not need to deal with them at all. However, that was not necessarily the case for them. Perhaps they would need to use the Langia Star in the future. Therefore, it would not be good for them to have a direct conflict now. They had no choice but to take out the reward in the future. The Vermilion Bird Palace's palace master took out a storage ring and said that all the rewards were inside. There was also a token, which was proof of identity to enter the Void Ocean. When the time came, Lin Gongzi could go to the Void Ocean. The man in the star robes did not move. Lin Xian took the storage ring and scanned it with his soul. Indeed, he found a Dao stone inside. The Earth Dao stone. Lin Xian smiled. He didn't care about anything else, but he definitely had to get his hands on the Earth Dao stone. He immediately took the Earth Dao stone out of the storage ring and placed it in the black earth. Then Lin Xian descended and summoned the Crimson Dragon to his side. Then he spoke to the North Demon and Yenryu. "I still have something to do, so I will take my leave first. I will contact you when the time comes." They exchanged sound transmission arrays. Then Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon rose into the sky again. Next, the powerhouse from the Langia Star in the star robes left with Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. Everyone was in an uproar when they saw the news. They were extremely excited. However, the faces of the people from the Vermilion Bird Palace were terrifyingly dark. Damn it! They had not expected that the battle they had carefully arranged to build up Yan Nanshan's popularity would be intercepted by someone else. More importantly, the person they had wanted to capture had been forcibly taken away by the people from the Langia Star. The Vermilion Bird Palace had never suffered such a setback before. This really made them gnash their teeth in anger. "Don't worry, that kid won't be able to escape." Yan Nanshan's face was cold. "I am about to break through to the Sage Realm. When I break through to the Sage Realm, My strength will undergo an earth-shattering change. I will finally be able to use some mystiques. When the time comes, I will kill him like a dog." Yen Nanshan's eyes shone with a piercing light. Indeed, the Sage Realm was a watershed. When one stepped into the Sage Realm, they would truly transcend the heavens and earth and be able to control the laws of all things. It would be different if they were to use some powerful mystiques. "Let's go." The people from the Vermilion Bird Palace quickly left. Although Yen Nantian had been defeated this time, they still had absolute confidence in him. He was a genius with a boundless future. He would definitely become an emperor in the future. After the people from the Vermilion Bird Palace left, the others discussed spiritedly. This battle was really too exciting. They believed that it would not be long before the news spread throughout the ancient path of the stars. They probably had to hurry up and prepare. In an instant, everyone left. The three sage clones looked uncertain, as if they were making some kind of decision. Chapter 33-37. Yen Ru-Yu said goodbye to the North Demon and quickly left. The North Demon also left. Long Zhaotian and Zhao Wuliang's expressions were ugly. So he was Lin Wudi. They had looked down on him before, but he was too powerful. But who would have thought that the other party was really too powerful? Even when the two of them joined hands, they were still not a match for the other party. "Sage, I must become a sage." Their eyes shined brightly. The only way to surpass Lin Wudi was to become a sage. These people all left. Some made up their minds to not come out until they became sages, while others went to spread the news like crazy. Some only sighed and their faces were filled with despair. That was because their elite geniuses had already been killed in the first round. In fact, they didn't even know who the murderer was right now. The most depressed were the people from the Yun family. Their patriarch of the Yun family, a saint, had mysteriously disappeared here. They were terrified and had to quickly return to discuss countermeasures. After everyone left, planet Suzaku seemed to have returned to normal. However, at this moment, an earth-shattering roar came from the demon Cultivation Valley. "Ah, damn brat, I won't let you go." This voice pierced through the 9 heavens and soared into the sky. He had transformed into a sage and was filled with killing intent. It was Cloud Sky Sage. At this moment, Cloud Sky Sage was still covered in mud. His eyes were as red as blood. Monstrous killing intent filled the 9 heavens as he broke free from the demonic pond. After he came out, he looked around and caught a person. He asked coldly, "Who are you?" That person was from the Vermilion Bird Palace. He was originally retreating from the Demon Cultivation Valley, but now he was caught and scared out of his wits. Cloud Sky Sage didn't hold back and forcibly collected the information he wanted to know. Soon he withdrew his hand, but his face was terrifyingly gloomy. He actually defeated Yen Nantian and became the champion of the Vermilion Bird ranking. Moreover, not only was he the successor of the 9 sons, but he was also the successor of the Great Dragon. Cloud Sky Sage was simply too shocked. He realized that the person he had trapped was actually the successor of 2 top inheritances. Moreover, that person had the Great Destruction Spear. If he could capture such a person, not only could he obtain the Great Destruction Spear, but he could also obtain the 9 sons and Great Dragon inheritances. Thinking of this, he was so excited that he trembled. "Lin Wudi, you can't run away." Cloud Sky Saint's eyes shone with a cold light. He was searching, but he couldn't find Lin Wudi. Lin Wudi had been taken away by the people of Langistar. The Langistar? Cloud Sky Saint's eyes flickered, but he did not care. He knew that it was impossible for her to spend the rest of her life with the saint of the Langistar. As long as they were separated, he would find an opportunity to strike. He would capture the other party and then go into seclusion for a few hundred years. He would only come out after his strength had greatly increased. At that time, with 2 great inheritances in his hands and a peerless weapon in his hands, who could be his opponent? At the thought of this, he could not wait to tear open the void and quickly flew toward the outer realm. He was not the only one who had such thoughts. Others also had such thoughts. Among them, the most powerful ones were the 3 clones of the saints. After they found out about Lin Xian's true identity, they immediately communicated with their original bodies. At this moment, the true bodies of the 3 sages were rushing over with haste. The 3 of them were not in the same group, but their goal was the same. Lin Xian and the Dark God Dragon followed the elites of the Langia Star and left Suzaku Star. They were returning to the Langia Star. They had been gone for a few days. Lin Xian also understood the elites of the Langia Star. He was indeed a saint of the Langia Star. The other party's name was Mu Bai. He was very powerful and had specially come to check on Lin Xian. "Little guy, you are very powerful. Your future is definitely limitless." This was Mu Bai's evaluation. Lin Xian smiled. "Senior, you are too kind. I wonder what you are going to do in the Void Sea." He was very puzzled by the Langia Star's request. "This is not the place to discuss matters. I will tell you everything when we return to the Langia Star." Lin Xian nodded. Next, he began to cultivate in seclusion. After all, as a genius, his strength did not come for free. He had cultivated it bit by bit. Therefore, whenever he had time, Lin Xian would not give up on cultivating. The Crimson Dragon also began to study the chess game. This heaven-crippled chess game was mysterious and unpredictable. There were many changes in it. The Crimson Dragon was very happy. After traveling for another 2 days, Saint Mu Bai suddenly opened his eyes and frowned. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also woke up from their cultivation. "Senior, someone is following us," Lin Xian said. Saint Mu Bai nodded. "Ignore him. I will change the direction. The 2 of you can cultivate as much as you want." After saying that, he steered the spirit boat and changed its direction. The array on the spirit boat flashed and directly jumped through space. In an instant, it disappeared into the cold void. In the next moment, the spatial rift disappeared. At the same time, 3 powerful souls swept over. They left? These were the souls of the 3 saints. It was obvious that the 3 saints had made a move. Moreover, they were almost locked onto. "Let's go and chase." They chased along the way. They did not know that the Cloud Sky Saint was behind them. The 4 saints began to chase. However, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were very calm. They were not worried about being caught at all. That was because Lin Xian was very strong. It was not a problem for him to kill a saint. Although the Crimson Dragon was also a half-saint, it was also not a problem for them to trap a saint together. In the end, it was not a problem for Saint Mu Bai to fight someone of the same level. They did not take the 3 saints seriously at all. However, it seemed that Saint Mu Bai did not want to fight with them. Instead, he changed his path from time to time. The array on the spirit boat was very powerful. Therefore, the time they took to reach the Langia Star was greatly reduced. About half a month later, they arrived near the Langia Star's star field. In a flash, they directly entered the Langia Star. Behind them, the 3 saints saw this scene and all stopped their pursuit. They had no choice. Although they were strong, they did not dare to attack the Langia Star. Therefore, they could only stop nearby. When the Cloud Sky Saint arrived, he also saw this scene and frowned again. However, the 4 of them did not leave. "I don't believe that you can hide in the Langia Star forever." They revealed a cold smile. The 4 saints hid near the Langia Star. They were completely dormant, waiting for the opportunity to hunt. On the other hand, Mu Bai led Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon down to the first zone. At this moment, the Langia Palace Master and a group of elders were waiting for Lin Xian. What a large scale! The Crimson Dragon narrowed his eyes when he entered. He did not expect the reception this time to be so grand. After greeting the seniors, Lin Xian did not act arrogantly after entering. Instead, he cupped his fists and looked around. Lin Gongzi did not need to be overly courteous. The Langia Palace Master smiled and walked down personally. Lin Xian also looked up and was surprised. Chapter 3338. The palace master of the Langya Palace looked like a young man in his 30s. He had a handsome face, and his eyes were as deep as the stars. He didn't look like a leader, but a top young genius. The surrounding elders were also wearing star robes and emitting a mysterious aura. Lin Gongzi is a young genius and powerful. He won first place on the Vermilion Bird leaderboard and defeated Yan Nantian. He was just lucky. Lin Xian smiled. The palace master of the Vermilion Bird Palace said with a smile, "This battle can't be explained by luck. We know that Lin Gongzi is powerful. Perhaps he can really help us complete this mission." "Oh, right, what mission is it?" Lin Xian asked curiously. The palace master of the Langya Star said with a smile, "There's no hurry. We promised young master that when young master becomes the champion of the Vermilion Bird leaderboard, we will give young master a big gift. This is the metal Dao stone." The palace master of Langya Palace flipped his hand and a golden stone appeared. It was emitting an extremely cold aura like a divine sword. The void around them kept shattering. Metal Dao stone. Lin Xian's eyes narrowed. He took it without hesitation. He already had 4 in his hands. He was already very close to his goal. According to the agreement, we will also give Lin Gongzi the whereabouts of the water Dao stone. We will also give young master an additional message. These were all agreed upon before. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. "That's right. I will also help you complete the mission according to the agreement. However, Lin Gongzi, is our relationship really just a mission? Doesn't young master want to go further?" "What do you mean?" Lin Xian was surprised. The palace master of the Langya Palace smiled. "I naturally want to invite young master to join our Langya Star. Young master should know about the relationship between Yan Nantian and the Vermilion Bird Palace. Moreover, this is just an exception. There will be more and more peerless powerhouses and geniuses joining the various top forces. I think young master will be no exception in the future. Why don't you join our Langya Palace?" The Langya Star was relatively famous in the myriad worlds. It was not inferior to the Vermilion Bird Palace. To be honest, Lin Xian was really tempted. It seemed that joining a powerful force was the general trend, and he couldn't resist it. Otherwise, he would be at a disadvantage when competing with those people in the future. And joining a place like the Vermilion Bird Palace was probably too strict. Lin Xian didn't want to be restricted. Lin Xian was tempted by the Langya Star, which occupied a star world and focused on divination and deduction. Moreover, it had great resources. Moreover, the Langya Star had always had a good relationship with him and had even entrusted him with missions. Therefore, Lin Xian nodded. This was not impossible. Seeing that Lin Xian was tempted but hesitant, the Langya Palace's palace master added, "I know what young master is worried about. Don't worry, we won't restrict the young master too much. A prodigy, like the young master, must be a powerhouse who can compete in the myriad worlds. We will provide you with resources, information, and necessary help. What we are betting on is young master's future. One day, when young master reaches the peak and becomes a great emperor, our Langya Star will naturally rise as well. I understand these principles, but isn't your Langya Star afraid that one day I will bring endless disaster to you?" Lin Xian asked. He knew that he was being targeted by a mysterious force. Who knew when it would erupt? Since it was a gamble, then while enjoying the fruits of victory, he would definitely bear a monstrous risk. We know this. Not only do we have to bear it, but everyone has to bear it. For example, the Vermilion Bird Palace was already so close to Yan Nantian. It was fine if Yan Nantian became a great emperor, but if he couldn't or died halfway, the other forces would definitely suppress him. The other forces would definitely suppress the Vermilion Bird Palace madly and might even destroy it. Lin Xian nodded. That was true. For example, he was already at odds with Yan Nantian and the Vermilion Bird Palace. If he killed Yen Nantian, he wouldn't let the Vermilion Bird Palace off either. All right, since that's the case, I'll join the Langistar. Hearing this, the elders in the hall all laughed. The Langistar's palace master also laughed. Good. The few times young master came to the Langistar, he was always in the 8th palace. Why don't I make young master the 8th palace master? Thank you, palace master. Lin Xian cupped his fists. The Langistar was divided into many areas. For example, the things that Lin Xian asked before were all in the 8th palace. Therefore, after he became the palace master, everything in the 8th palace was under his control. This wasn't an empty title, but an elder with real power. It could be seen that the Langistar valued him very much. However, Lin Xian wasn't interested in managing things like this. Therefore, even if he became the palace master of the 8th palace, he would let others do it. Since he had become a member of the Langistar, Lin Xian wouldn't be polite. He asked Palace Master, "What did you go to the Void Sea to get?" The Langi Palace Master said, "It's a long story, and it's related to you. You fought with the great demon, and in the end, you summoned the 1st generation demon shadow and used demons swallowing the world to seal the endless starry sky. The Langistar was also sealed in it. In the end, the Langistar formation blocked it. However, there were still some places that were broken. One of the places was filled with demonic chi, and it hasn't disappeared yet. This isn't ordinary demonic chi. It's very difficult to erase. More importantly, there's a sleeping green demonic vine in our Langistar. If we remove the demonic chi and alarm the green demonic vine, or if the demonic chi and the green demonic vine fuse together, we'll be in trouble. I'm afraid that the entire Langistar will be in danger." Hearing this, Lin Xian's expression became solemn. Green demonic vine. He didn't expect to hear about such a terrifying demonic creature here. It was a very terrifying thing. Once it grew up, it could destroy the entire star world. Ordinary saints would have to become nourishment for the other party. Back then, the green demonic vine erupted in crisis in the universe. Many star worlds were quickly shattered. In the end, a great emperor took action and forcefully erased it. Only then did the disaster stop. In the end, there were very few green demonic vines in the universe. He didn't expect that there would be one on the Langistar. In addition, he also found one on the North Demon. "I see. What should I do?" he asked again. The Langistar's palace lord said, "After some time the Void Sea will open. It's a land of endless treasures. We deduced that there's a statue of a great sage in the Void Sea. It cultivates the righteous chi of heaven and earth, which specializes in restraining demonic creatures. Take out that statue and use it to suppress the demonic chi on the Langistar. It'll be able to resolve this crisis." "So that's how it is." Lin Xian nodded. "I understand. The water Taoist stone that you're looking for is also in the Void Sea. Moreover, it won't be long before the Void Sea opens. Many major forces and elites will enter. Firstly, it's a trial in the ancient star path. Secondly, it's also a treasure hunt. There's an age restriction to enter the Void Sea. Only those under 1,000 years old can enter. Those over 1,000 years old can't enter. Of course, some special methods can be used, but there's a price to pay. Moreover, with Lin Gongzi's help, we're more at ease. Palace Master, how long will it take for the Void Ocean to open?" Chapter 30, 339. Half a year. There was still half a year left. The Void Sea would open, and they would be able to enter then. Lin Xian thought for a moment, and then asked, "Oh, right, I still need information about the magnetic stones." As soon as he said this, the elders in the hall exclaimed in a low voice and discussed animatedly. "What's wrong?" Lin Xian was surprised. How could it cause such a huge commotion? The palace master of Langi Palace said, "It seems that our guess is right. You want to cultivate the 5 elements into one. Only this kind of law would require a large number of Dao stones. That's right. Lin Xian nodded. Since he had already joined the Langistar, he would not hide it. Hearing that, the people in the palace hall all sucked in a mouthful of cold air. The 5 elements into one was very rare. Perhaps only the young man in front of them dared to do so. The palace master of Langi Palace said, "I will help you deduce the matter of the magnetic mountain. We have previously deduced that it is not in the Void Sea. It should be somewhere else." All right. Lin Xian was not in a hurry. He would go to the Void Sea and obtain the water Dao Stone first. The news of Vermilion Bird Palace spread like a hurricane. Many people in the world knew about it. They were extremely shocked. They did not expect that the Vermilion Bird Palace, which had spent so much effort to organize the Vermilion Bird list, would end up benefiting someone else's disciple. The people of Vermilion Bird Palace would probably be angered to death, right? It turned out that Lin Wudi was the successor of the 9 sons. Moreover, he was the successor of the Great Dragon. He was too powerful. I reckon that it was very likely that he would become a great emperor. Yes, if nothing unexpected happened. However, I reckon that many people have their eyes on him now, right? Do you think he will go to the Void Sea in half a year's time? Who knows? But I'm definitely going. Everyone in the universe was talking about it. Lin Wudi's name once again resounded throughout the starry universe. Those young geniuses were all envious and looked up to him. The older generation figures also nodded repeatedly. Of course, some peerless powerhouses were also jealous and even prepared to take action. At the same time, the news of the Void Sea also spread. Many large factions in the universe were preparing to head to the Void Sea. Some of the top geniuses even felt that this was a good opportunity to become a sage. After all, there were many treasures in the Void Ocean. If they could enter and obtain it, the time they needed to become saints would be greatly reduced. In this way, they might be able to compete with Lin Wudi. All of a sudden, everyone began to move. Those who were a little further away had already set sail. The Void Sea was a sea in the void of the universe. It was very strange. The seawater here was unusual. It could swallow people and even half-saints. Of course, if the void was still open, there would be a certain amount of time for people to enter. That was why everyone was waiting for this opportunity to open it. Some warriors who had arrived early were already wandering around the Void Sea. Those peerless experts and elders were staring at the Void Sea with sparkling eyes. Some of the youngsters felt their scalps go numb because they saw corpses and bones floating out of the waves of the Void Ocean. These were the corpses and bones of those who had come to the Void Ocean in the past to search for treasures. The Void Sea had always been rumored to contain treasures, so since ancient times, many people had come here to search for treasures. Boom! 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 Heaven and earth trembled, and the endless darkness turned fiery red. A vermilion bird spread its wings and soared into the sky like an ancient divine beast. The people around the Void Ocean were all shocked. How terrifying! Could it be that the ancient divine beast had been resurrected? The youngsters exclaimed. The elders were also shocked. No, the people from Vermilion Bird Palace had come. Indeed, the huge vermilion bird had arrived near the Void Ocean and occupied a part of the starry sky. The vermilion bird spread its wings and soared into the sky. There were many people standing on it, each of them with prominent horns and powerful auras. Obviously, they were all geniuses. Standing at the front was an extremely handsome man. He was Yen Nantian, the successor of the great emperor Yen Nantian. There were also elders and geniuses from Vermilion Bird Palace. Exclamations of surprise could be heard. Many people were secretly sizing up Yen Nantian. Previously, Yen Nantian had been rumored to be the most likely candidate to become the great emperor. However, he had been defeated by Lin Wudi in the Vermilion Bird list battle. Therefore, they wanted to see what Yen Nantian was like. But soon, they began to scream in pain. Yen Nantian snorted coldly. The phantoms of the 4 divine beasts circled around him, causing those who tried to peek to bleed from their eyes and fall from the sky. He was too powerful. Many people retracted their gazes. There was awe in their expressions. Even if the successor of the great emperor had been defeated, he was not someone ordinary people could provoke. Vermilion Bird Palace had come aggressively this time. In addition to Yen Nantian, there were many half-saints. There were even a few whose auras were very obscure. Could it be that the clones of the saints had been forced? Many people were solemn. Next, more and more forces and families came. They stood in a part of the starry sky. Fortunately, this was the universe, and there was endless space. However, those who occupied the most advantageous positions were a few top forces. Vermilion Bird Palace was one of them. No one dared to approach where they were. In addition, a few forces that were on par with Vermilion Bird Palace had also come. For a moment, the atmosphere near the void ocean was very tense. Unexpectedly, the opening of the void ocean this time had attracted so many people. In the void of the universe, a spirit ship was flying quickly. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon stood inside, their eyes shining. Beside him was Saint Mubai and a few elders of Langya Palace. There were not many people. Even the Langya Star did not send those young genius disciples. Was it because those people were not good at fighting, or did the Langya Star have other intentions? When they came near the void ocean, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon looked at the light screen in front of them. The surrounding array had already reflected the images of the surroundings. Lin Xian saw that there were countless figures around the void ocean. Their auras were very strong. Some of them were young geniuses and were very strong. There were also those of the older generation. They were all sitting there cross-legged, staring at a part of the world. Lin Xian knew that apart from the young geniuses, only a small number of strong cultivators had entered, because there was an age limit. Of course, he could not rule out the possibility that some people had forced their way in. However, such people were definitely in the minority. Lin Xian did not take them seriously. While Lin Xian was sizing up the people outside were also alarmed by the aura of the spirit ship. They saw a ray of light rushing over, followed by an ancient spirit ship. Immediately there were exclamations. It was the spirit ship of the Langya Star. Many people exclaimed when they saw the pattern on the spirit ship. Chapter 30, 340. The pattern of the Langya Star was a starlight pattern. In the middle was an incomparably bright star, surrounded by many other stars, forming a star field. It was very strange. People could recognize it at a glance. At this moment, countless exclamations sounded. The spirit boat of the Langya Star continued to move forward without stopping. Obviously, with the strength and status of the Langya Star, it had to stop at a position closer to the front. As expected, the figures in the positions near the front of the void sea also turned their heads and exclaimed. Those on the huge vermilion bird turned their heads and looked over. In the next moment, many people's expressions changed. Damn it, it's the people of the Langya Star. The spirit boat stopped in the void. Then, a few figures rushed out of it. The person in the lead was a young man in a red robe. He had a handsome face, and there was also a divine dragon following beside him. He looked extraordinarily mighty. Following closely behind were Saint Mubai and a few elders. As soon as they appeared, they attracted the attention of everyone. Damn it, it's you! A cold voice rang out. Above the 9 heavens, endless thunder and lightning descended. It pierced through all directions. Everyone below felt their hair stand on end. What a terrifying aura! Who dared to make a move at this time? Countless people quickly looked around. Soon, they found that the person who spoke was Yen Nantian. Yen Nantian's murderous aura surged and shot into the sky. That aura was so terrifying that even a half-saint would tremble. His eyes burned with a fiery red light as he stared straight ahead. He didn't expect to meet his sworn enemy in the Void Sea half a year later. Yan Nanshan's face was terrifyingly gloomy. Between heaven and earth, a terrifying murderous aura surged, making people's scalps tingle. Lin Xian also glanced at Yan Nantian. Then he laughed. Isn't this the loser I defeated? How dare you come out? Let me tell you, I'm going to the Void Sea too. So, you'd better take your people and get lost. As soon as he said that, everyone's eyes popped out. They didn't even dare to breathe. This was a fight between immortals. As expected, the Vermilion Bird Palace's people's expressions were extremely ugly. Quite a few people's eyes were emitting flames. The overflowing flames transformed into flaming tornadoes that engulfed the 9 heavens. That damned brat! How dare he look down on us? Many of the Vermilion Bird Palace's geniuses clenched their teeth. The Vermilion Bird Palace's elders also had unwavering expressions, as if they were about to attack. What? Do I have to make a move just because I want to be outside? I don't mind playing with you guys. Lin Xian's body flashed, and he stomped his foot. Suddenly, the surrounding void shattered and turned into a terrifying black crack. A terrifying pressure pressed down on the surrounding people, causing their faces to turn pale and their blood to almost freeze. The flames that filled the sky were instantly torn to shreds. Those from the Vermilion Bird Palace gulped. No one dared to make a move because they knew that the person in front of them was no ordinary person. He was the number 1 on the Vermilion Bird leaderboard, someone who had suppressed Yan Nantian. However, a Vermilion Bird Palace prodigy still sent a voice transmission. Elder, why don't we attack and kill him? We have a Sane on our side anyway. However, when the Vermilion Bird Palace's elder heard that, he snorted coldly. Shut up and don't mess around. We have a saint, but so does he. Try it if you dare. If you want to kill him, you can go in. There will be plenty of opportunities, but not here. Hearing that, that prodigy stopped talking. Indeed, if they had a saint on their side, how could the Langia Star not have one? Especially in such a situation, the elders around Lin Xian were probably here to protect him. Boom! 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 Everyone was still waiting. Finally, a powerful aura surged over from afar, and dragon roars resounded through the 9 heavens. Everyone's bodies were about to split open. Their scalps went numb. Heavens, the powerhouses of the dragon race were here. Even the people from the Vermilion Bird Palace were on guard as they held their breaths. Only Yan Nantian snorted coldly, not caring at all. Lin Xian turned his head curiously. Are they from the dragon race? There were indeed dragons in the myriad worlds. I wonder how they compare to the nest of 10,000 dragons. In the distance, a huge dragon flew over quickly like a mountain range. Many figures stood on the huge dragon. They were all in the form of dragons. Of course, there were also a few who didn't seem to be bothered to transform into dragons. They appeared in their dragon forms. Their horns were ferocious, and their auras were powerful. With their strong physiques, they could shatter the void with a light shake. They were from the Dragon Valley. Many people exclaimed. Obviously, this was also a major force, and it was from the dragon race. Dragon Valley? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The crimson dragon beside him also sneered. On the huge dragon, the powerhouses of the dragon race stood there, ignoring everyone. Suddenly, one of them frowned. His huge eyes looked down and stared at the place where Lin Xian was. Instantly, the void in that place turned into a black hole. How terrifying! What's wrong with this person? Why did he attack Lin Wudi? The surrounding people were shocked. However, the people from the Vermilion Bird Palace were delighted. Could it be that this kid has also provoked the Dragon Valley? If that's the case, there's going to be fun to watch. They all had gloating expressions on their faces. The faces of the people from the Langia Star changed. Even Sage Mu Bai was on guard. However, Lin Xian didn't care. Beside him, the crimson dragon roared. The dragon's roar reverberated through the 9 heavens, causing the bodies of the people above to tremble slightly. What's going on? The people from the Dragon Valley stopped and stared at the crimson dragon with unfriendly expressions. The others were also stunned. There's still a dragon race? Which world are you from? The powerhouse of the Dragon Valley asked coldly. You people don't have the right to know. The crimson dragon snorted. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. This guy probably doesn't even know which world he's from. Let's go. The people from the Dragon Valley looked at them and ignored them. They naturally knew that they weren't the only branch of the dragon race. There were other worlds that had them. However, if they really went to the Void Ocean and fought for treasures, even if the other party was from the dragon race, they wouldn't show mercy. The people from the Dragon Valley dominated this world. After this, more powerful forces came. The Dark Moon Palace, the 8 Baron Pavilion. The Seacombe family was a major force that was on par with the Dragon Valley and the Vermilion Bird Palace. The elites in the 8 Baron Pavilion were also very terrifying. And this time, there were leaders leading the way. Even when facing Yan Nantian, they didn't show any fear. One could imagine that they were very confident and powerful. That guy. Among the people of the Dragon Valley, there was a figure with a gloomy expression. It was Long Zhaotian. He was originally from the Dragon Tribe, so he had joined the Dragon Valley in the past half a year. He had become a member of the Dragon Valley and was valued. On the other side, there was also a pale person from the Dark Moon Palace. He stared at Lin Xian with a cold, murderous look in his eyes. He was Zhao Wuliang. He had joined the Dark Moon Palace. In addition to these people who were hostile to Lin Xian, there were also some people who were greedy for the treasures on Lin Xian. Among them, there were 4 sages hiding in the dark. One of them was the Cloud Sky Saint, but they must have hidden in order to secretly enter the Void Ocean. He couldn't find them for the time being. However, Lin Xian could feel that there were a few powerful auras lingering nearby. Chapter 30, 341. Humph. He snorted coldly and didn't care at all. As long as these people dared to come, he would make them regret it. Brother Lin. The North Demon walked over from afar and greeted him. Yan Ryu was also here. The 3 of them attracted the attention of countless people. Yan Ryu only brought 2 people with her this time. 2 of them were dressed in green robes. One of them was an old lady with a walking stick. The other was a middle-aged man with a white face and no beard. They stood there silently as if they didn't exist. The North Demon came with his sister. He hadn't joined any forces yet. Ever since the Vermilion Bird trial, he had gone into seclusion and only came out recently. Why don't you join the Langius Star directly? Lin Xian said. Hearing this, the Langius Star sage and elder raised their eyebrows. These 2 people were top prodigies. Yan Ryu smiled and said, Even if I don't join, can't you help me? The North Demon nodded. Sure, but I have to bring my sister along. Hearing this, Lin Xian glanced at Sage Mubai. Sage Mubai smiled and said, No problem. He was too happy. The North Demon was also a top prodigy. At this moment, Lin Xian added, Elder Mubai, my brother is not simple. He has a battle armor on him, which is the Green Nocturne. If Brother North Demon grows up in the future, he might be able to control the Green Nocturne. Hearing this, Sage Mubai's eyes lit up. He looked at the North Demon with even more joy in his eyes. Someone who could control the Green Nocturne? To them, that person was like a savior. Of course, he also looked at Lin Xian gratefully. If it weren't for Lin Xian, the North Demon probably wouldn't have joined the Langius Star. It seemed that betting on Lin Xian's future and fully supporting him was the right choice. The North Demon also heaved a sigh of relief. He waved his hand and called for his sister. Then he said, You can follow me first. These seniors can wait outside. The Void Ocean is too dangerous. It's not suitable for you to enter now. All right, brother, be careful. The North Demon nodded and started to fight with Lin Xian. They began to wait patiently. Boom! They waited for about 10 days before an earth-shattering sound came from the front. Waves rose from the void ocean. Each wave was 10,000 miles high. It was impossible to see them clearly in the darkness. However, the 8 waves spun rapidly, forming a huge vortex that looked as though it was going to devour everything. However, the experts waiting here all revealed smiles as they looked at the vortex. Good, it's finally open. They can enter now. Hearing this, everyone took a deep breath. Was it finally going to open? Many people clenched their fists. This time they had to come out alive and successfully bring out the treasure. Sage Mu Bai also looked at Lin Xian and the Northern Demon and said in a low voice, "Be careful." He looked at Lin Xian. "Especially you. I reckon that many people will make a move on you this time. I'm guessing that among them, there must be a saint who sneaked in. Don't worry, I can handle it." Lin Xian smiled. Then he turned around and walked forward with the Crimson Dragon, Northern Witch, and Yen Ryu. The surrounding people all moved out and entered the black vortex, disappearing without a trace. However, at that moment, 2 muffled groans were heard. 2 figures were sent flying, and their blood dyed the void red. Then they turned into a sea of blood. It was the blood of a saint. Many people exclaimed. There were indeed saints among them. However, it seemed that the 2 saints were not strong enough. They were sent flying and were seriously injured. Damn it! The 2 saints cursed softly. They were instantly covered in blood and flew into the distance. Sage Mu Bai looked at this scene and sneered. What a stupid guy! He didn't even ask around before coming to the void ocean. How dare he barge in? Seeing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. Were the saints injured? It seemed that there were special restrictions. Thinking of this, he stopped hesitating and quickly walked forward. Soon they were engulfed by the darkness. The seawater washed their bodies, forcing them to defend themselves. However, it was too dark. It seemed that the abyss could devour all light. Therefore, they couldn't see clearly at all. Everyone was not worried. They just waited for them to enter. Suddenly a scream was heard. Oh no! The voice was very sweet. Lin Xian heard it and asked coldly, "What's wrong?" It was Yen Ryu's voice. However, at the next moment, he was sent flying by a huge force. Boom! Oh no, I've been set up. Someone is setting up a trap. Lin Xian instantly understood. Fortunately, his physique was strong. Although this attack landed on his body, it didn't pierce through it. The blood in his body was boiling. He forcefully suppressed it and shouted coldly, "Someone is setting up a trap. Don't make a sound." He was reminding the Crimson Dragon, Yen Ryu, and the North Demon. However, his reminder exposed his position again. Suddenly, there was an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation in the void. However, there was no light at all. Boom! 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 Lin Xian took the attack head-on and was forced to retreat. His blood was boiling. However, he did not act rashly because he could not find Yen Ryu and the others. If he hurt them, it would be troublesome. He had to survive this period of darkness first. All of this happened in an instant. Then, light appeared in front of them. Everyone was wrapped in seawater and rushed out. They had completely entered the void ocean. This was a scene at the bottom of the ocean. It was like an underwater dragon palace. There were all kinds of marine plants and fish. Those were all demonic beasts. The water was heavy. However, those who could enter were at least half saints. Some of them were clones of saints, and some were hidden saints. Therefore, the pressure of the seawater was not a threat to them. It only affected them a little. Lin Xian, are you okay? Yen Ryu and the others walked over and asked with concern. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light. In the next moment, he nodded. He realized that it was really Yen Ryu this time. The North Demon and the Crimson Dragon saw that Lin Xian's robe was a little tattered and some parts were charred. They asked nervously, "What's going on?" "Someone attacked me in the dark." "What?" Did they attack so soon? The Crimson Dragon gritted his teeth. The North Demon and Yen Ryu were shocked. They looked around cautiously. There were some people around, but most of them left quickly after landing. The North Demon glanced and said, "Something's not right. There are much fewer people here than before. It seems that they were randomly assigned." "Humph, you actually dared to come in. You really don't know what's good for you. Wait and see. When the time comes, none of you will be able to leave." At that moment, a sneer came from behind. The North Demon and the others turned around. In the next moment, they frowned. It was the people of the Vermilion Bird Palace. Not only was Yen Nantian not here, but it seemed that he was not teleported here. He must have been teleported somewhere else. "What should we do, kid?" the Crimson Dragon asked. Chapter 3342. The North Demon said, "They have a lot of people, and we're here to find treasures. Let's not get into a conflict with them." Lin Xian frowned. Golden runes flashed in his eyes as if he was confirming something. Soon he sneered. "So it was you. Since that's the case, go to hell." The aura on his body burst out and swept through the entire area. The surrounding seawater started to churn crazily, creating a vacuum zone. There were still some people around. When they saw this scene, they shrunk their necks in fear. "God, we just entered, and Lin Wudi wants to start a war with Vermilion Bird Palace." "It's you." The North Demon and Yen Ryu wanted to say something, but Lin Xian suddenly attacked. The golden palm reached forward. In an instant, it covered all the people from Vermilion Bird Palace. However, there was a golden sword aura in the palm that pierced towards one of them. Poof! Ah, it was too fast. In just an instant, there was a scream. Then, one of the geniuses from Vermilion Bird Palace was split open. The corpse fell to the sides, and the soul escaped screaming. "Damn it, you really dared to attack." The people from Vermilion Bird Palace roared crazily. They were furious. Although Lin Wudi had defeated Yen Nantian, so what? Even a saint didn't dare to start a war with Vermilion Bird Palace. Vermilion Bird Palace was very powerful, but now the other party killed one of their geniuses without hesitation. The soul of the genius floated in the air and screamed crazily. "Damn it, you dare to attack me?" He was so angry that he was going crazy. Lin Xian sneered. "Why wouldn't I dare to attack you? You attacked me first, right? You were the one who attacked me at the entrance. You think I can't sense you just because you hid your aura? Since you dared to attack me, you must be prepared to die." Lin Xian's sword aura soared into the sky, pressing down on the soul until it almost dimmed. "Damn it! How dare you attack my Vermilion Bird Palace? Kill!" Suddenly, one of them charged over. Vermilion Bird Seal. He formed a seal with his palm and transformed into a huge vermilion bird that charged towards Lin Xian. At the same time, the other person drew a long saber with a clang. It was as red as fire and looked like the feathers of a vermilion bird. Although it was not as good as the feather in Yen Nantian's hand, it was still extremely terrifying. In an instant, the surrounding seawater was split apart. At the same time, the other person also made his move. The flames on his body overflowed into the sky, covering all the seawater. They formed two large flaming palms and grabbed Lin Xian's legs, preventing him from escaping. The three geniuses struck out at the same time, displaying their ultimate skills. It was truly ferocious. "Haha, die for me." The Vermilion Bird Seal rushed towards Lin Xian's head, while the Vermilion Bird Feather Longsword stabbed towards Lin Xian's heart. Both were fatal attacks. Boom! Boom! An earth-shattering collision. Sound rang out. Terrifying flames and violent energy engulfed Lin Xian. The aura of the Crimson Dragon and the others burst out, tearing everything apart. Their eyes were cold, and the surrounding warriors retreated like crazy. They had just entered and encountered such a thing, so they did not have time to react. Some of them were even sent flying by this force. Humph! I don't believe you can block it. The Vermilion Bird Palace people sneered. Whoosh! 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 The seawater surged, and the surrounding sea demons were all blasted into pieces, scattering all over the ground. Lin Xian's figure appeared, stunning the Vermilion Bird Palace people. Damn it! How could he not be injured? How could he not be injured? These people found it hard to believe. Although they had only seen Lin Xian's power, personally fighting and watching were two completely different things. 3 of you ganging up on me? Very good. Your Vermilion Bird Palace really has guts. You actually dare to attack me. Lin Xian's body emitted crackling sounds, and a thunderous golden light shone so brightly that no one could open their eyes. With a stomp of his foot, the 2 large flaming palms that bound him were instantly torn apart. Ah! The genius opposite him screamed and retracted his hands. There were countless cracks on his palms, and even his bones could be seen. His face was filled with shock. Too strong. The other party only shook his body, and he could not withstand that force. Does your hand hurt? Don't worry, the pain you will suffer will be 10,000 times more painful than your hand. A cold voice sounded in front of him. The genius raised his head, scared out of his wits. He did not know when the other party had appeared in front of him. A large palm reached out and slapped his face like a mountain. Boom! A violent explosion sounded, and the earth cracked. A large crack appeared on the seabed. The Vermilion Bird Palace genius's body fell to the ground. His body was torn apart, and his face was smashed into pieces. A technique soul stab. Lin Xian formed a hand seal, and the heavenly secret divine eye erupted. A golden light pierced the other party's soul. Immediately, the other party's soul let out a miserable shriek, as if he was in great danger. The sound was so terrifying that it made one's scalp tingle. You dare to stab my heart with a sword? Trash! Let me tell you how to use a sword. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the other person. A ray of sword qi appeared on his fingertip. It streaked across the sea, and a sword mark appeared on the other person's forehead. Blood immediately flowed out. What a fast sword! That was the only thought he had. Bang! The corpse fell to the ground. The sword had directly destroyed the other party's body and soul. The soul of the first man, who had suffered great pain, also died. In the blink of an eye, 2 geniuses were completely destroyed. Lin Xian turned to the third person. The Vermilion Bird Seal? So weak. Let me tell you how to use the Vermilion Bird Seal. He formed a hand seal, and the golden flames on his body danced. They turned into a golden vermilion bird, and he pushed it out with his palm. This power was much stronger than before. It was as if the primordial vermilion bird had been revived. Boom! Boom! That person was blasted into pieces, and his soul managed to escape. However, Lin Xian used his heavenly fate god eyes on the soul that had attacked earlier, and this soul that had attacked earlier. The terrifying light made the 2 of them scream. Another 2 souls fell. In an instant, all 4 of them were killed. Everything happened so quickly that the people from the Vermilion Bird Palace could not react. In the distance, the martial artists passing by were scared witless. Lin Wudi was too strong. They should not provoke him unless they were a saint. They quickly fled. Damn it, how dare you attack us? I'm going to. Before a genius from the Vermilion Bird Palace could finish his words, he was slapped to the ground by the leader. Shut up! All of you King leave. They turned into a stream of flame and fled. It was too terrifying. They did not have a saint's clone, nor did they have Yan Nan Tian. How could they fight against the other party? It was better to escape first. Wait until they met up with the main group, then discuss how to kill the other party. Kid, are you going to let them escape just like that? The Crimson Dragon looked at the other party and asked quickly. Lin Xian shook his head. Don't worry, they can escape. They will definitely find the experts from the Vermilion Bird Palace and come back. I'll leave a mark on them. When the time comes, I'll use them to find Yan Nantian. Then I'll kill them all. Chapter 33:43. Now, we don't have time to chase after these clowns. Let's go and see what's so magical about the Void Sea. The group quickly set off. Nobody dared to provoke them wherever they went. That was because their lineup was too powerful. None of them were weak. Suddenly, a huge shadow appeared in front of them. At the same time, an extremely terrifying aura came from it. Yenryu and the dark red divine dragon both sucked in a deep breath. That was demonic aura. What a terrifying demonic aura. The North demons had the body of 10,000 demons. Although the Crimson Dragon was a dragon, it could be said to be the leader of 10,000 demons. Yenryu had once joined the Demon King Palace, so she should be related to the demons. Therefore, they were the most sensitive to the demonic qi. Lin Xian's soul was strong, so he naturally felt it too. The aura was too terrifying. It even carried the aura of a saint. Could it be a demonic saint? There was actually a demonic saint here. Let's go. They sped up and rushed forward through the waves. Soon, they approached the huge shadow. However, they realized that it was not a shadow, but a corpse that was as big as a mountain. Its bones were blue like stars. They were very hard and could not be broken at all. After such a long time, the flesh and blood were gone, but the bones were perfectly preserved. It was the best material for refining weapons and armor. Why didn't anyone want it? Hee, Ben Huang won't stand on ceremony. The Crimson Dragon stretched out its claws and grabbed forward. In front of them, the demonic saint's corpse was as big as a mountain. However, so what if it was huge? The Crimson Dragon's claw contained a part of the world. It could take in any mountain. However, he soon realized that something was wrong because he could not take it in at all. It was too strange. It was fixed there and could not be picked up at all. Damn it, it's so strange. The Crimson Dragon mumbled and tried a few more times, but it was useless. Therefore, he could only give up. Yenryu's beautiful eyes flickered as she looked around. He said, "This shouldn't be the first time the Void Sea has opened, right? In the past, there must have been strong cultivators like us. The treasures that could be seen at a glance would have been taken away by our ancestors. It's not even our turn." This was an explanation for the Crimson Dragon. The Crimson Dragon gnashed its teeth in anger. Damn it, Ben Huang was so angry that he kicked the huge corpse fiercely. Clang! An earth-shattering sound rang out, causing everyone to frown. The Crimson Dragon also let out a roar. Damn it, Ben Huang was in so much pain. What kind of broken thing was this? How could it be so hard? Lin Xian said, "All right, stop messing around. Let's go see what other treasures there are." "Little White, it's up to you." Lin Xian gave Little White 2 spirit fruits. Little White hugged the spirit fruit and squeaked, "Let me see." Before he could finish his words, the water around them began to circulate rapidly, forming a water prison that completely enveloped them. Not good. Someone is attacking us again. The Crimson Dragon let out a strange cry. Could it be someone from the Vermilion Bird Palace? They discovered that it wasn't. Look at what it is. The northern demon frowned. In the distance, many black shadows swam over. Yenryu said, "Not good, let's go." They bombarded the water prison and shattered it. However, the black shadows still surrounded them. Finally, they saw clearly what these black shadows were. They were terrifying fish, and they were all demon fish. The aura on their bodies was terrifying. Their teeth and scales were sharp enough to pierce through everything. If there were only 1 or 2, Lin Xian and the others wouldn't care at all. However, there were tens of thousands of them. God knows how many there were. Not good, these are ghost fiend fish. They are very terrifying. Their attacks are very strong and crazy. Let's go quickly. Break out of the encirclement. Don't fight them head-on. Yenryu said quickly. Lin Xian and the others nodded and struck out with their palms. It was like a school of fish. Instantly, the ghost fiend fish were sent flying. Lin Xian's fist was terrifyingly harmonious. The ghost fiend sharks in front of him were all turned into ashes. They turned into a bloody mist. However, the blood stimulated the ghost fiend sharks. Immediately, they released endless bubbles and stared at Lin Xian. They rushed over quickly. Like blue divine arrows, they crashed into Lin Xian's body, making sonorous sounds. Although Lin Xian's body was strong, he couldn't withstand the impact of so many fish. He could tell that if a saint was trapped here, he would probably die. Therefore, he stomped his foot. Like a coiling dragon, he split the world with his foot. Boom! Yukun was cleaved open, creating a vacuum. Let's go. Taking the lead, Lin Xian unleashed a barrage of attacks in all directions. The Crimson Dragon, Yen Ruyu, and the Northern Demon followed closely behind. During this time, the Crimson Dragon roared in all directions. It wanted to use the prestige of the dragon race to suppress these demon fish. However, the ghost fiend sharks were not afraid. Lin Xian was extremely surprised. The Northern Demon was also surprised. What kind of demon beast is this? It can actually ignore the suppression of the bloodline. They ran all the way until they escaped the pursuit of the ghost fiend sharks. Then their expressions turned ugly. Damn it, this void sea is too strange. Yen Ryu said, these ghost sharks were bloodthirsty. They must have eaten the corpse of the previous demon saint. That was why they became so terrifying. Moreover, that demonic saint was probably not ordinary. His flesh and blood contained a trace of the will of a saint, so these ghost fiend sharks were affected. You insulted the demonic saint just now, which attracted these ghost fiend sharks. All right, Rizalong, be careful. Don't touch it again. Lin Xian said. The Crimson Dragon shrugged helplessly. Damn, how would I know that this place was so strange? All right, I'll be more careful in the future. Let's go. Lin Xian waved his hand. Then they asked Little White. Little White jumped into Yen Ryu's arms and ate the spirit fruit. Its big black eyes blinked in all directions. Then it pointed in a direction with its furry paw. Over there. They set off quickly. After walking for about a day, they had completely entered the void sea. The surroundings were no longer the same as when they first entered. This was simply an underwater world. Moreover, it was an underwater forest. The seaweeds were hundreds of meters long and rooted at the bottom of the sea. They were connected like trees, making it impossible for people to see clearly. Some of them had even cultivated into demons and could sneak attack people. The Crimson Dragon and the others were attacked. They were instantly wrapped up by the seaweeds. If not for their strength, they would have died here long ago. As expected, in these days they heard screams from time to time. Blood dyed the sea red, and then it was washed away. Obviously, many of the people who came in had died in the mouths of these sea demons. This was definitely a very dangerous place. Boom, boom, boom. There was an abnormal current in front of them. The Northern Demon frowned. It seemed that some demon beast was coming. His 10,000 demon body sensed it. Chapter 344. Lin Xian and the others instantly hid in the seaweed and concealed their auras. Even their heartbeats were gone. They were like boulders hiding themselves. The black shadows in front of them flew over quickly. They were blue beasts that were as deep as the sea of stars. From afar, they looked like ferocious flood dragons or cheilants in the sea. However, they were not flood dragons or cheilants. They were seahorses. They were all demonic beasts that had cultivated into spirits. Each of them was hundreds of meters long, and one of them was even thousands of meters long. They were like the overlords of the sea. Wherever they passed, countless water demons prostrated themselves as if they were welcoming their king. Lin Xian and the others stared at the gigantic seahorse king in shock. There was actually such a terrifying sea demon. However, the seahorse king seemed to have sensed something. It turned its huge head, bringing with it a powerful wave. Its eyes swept over the area. Instantly, Lin Xian and the others became nervous. They realized that it was not an ordinary seahorse king, but a saint. It was the seahorse saint. Moreover, he did not look like an ordinary saint. He must have cultivated for many years and was surrounded by countless half-saint seahorses. He was definitely an overlord in the void ocean. Lin Xian and the others did not want to provoke such an existence. Therefore, they lowered their auras to the lowest. The seahorse saint glanced at them and did not pay any more attention to them. Then he left. In his opinion, even if he had discovered them, they would only be weak. With such a weak aura, it was probably just like a bug. He wouldn't care about it at all. After the seahorses had left for a long time, Lin Xian and the others heaved a sigh of relief and quietly extended their souls. When they found that there was nothing strange around them, they walked out of the seaweed. They walked for another 2 days and went deeper. Suddenly, the little white monkey cheered. "Ah, there's something ahead. It's good." Hearing that, Yan Ruyu, Lin Xian, and the others' eyes lit up. They sped up. Soon they arrived in front of them. Then they were stunned. There was an underwater canyon in front of them. Seaweed grew in the canyon and emitted a dazzling light. They danced in the water like chains of laws. The aura emanating from it was simply too shocking. Spirit medicine, and it should be a 10,000-year-old spirit medicine. This was a real king of medicine. There were more than 10 of them. The crimson dragon was drooling. Ruyu and the northern demon's eyes were burning. Such a king of medicine was extremely tempting even to a saint. "Attack!" Crimson Dragon and the others rushed forward to grab it and pull it hard. However, after pulling a few times, they found that they couldn't pull it off. What was going on? How could there be such a hard king medicine? They were all top-notch experts. This was especially true for Lin Xian, who was extremely strong. But now he was actually unable to grab it, which surprised him greatly. The crimson dragon waved its claws a few times and hit the bottom of the canyon. Then it frowned. It was so hard. Why did it feel like it was similar to the corpse of the demon saint? What? Hearing this, Lin Xian frowned. He activated his Tianji God eyes, and a pair of golden eyes looked down from the sky. Soon he was surprised. It was really the corpse of a demonic beast. He didn't know what kind of demonic beast it was. It was too long. This canyon was actually filled with its corpse. However, it seemed that its corpse had been split open. He didn't know that it was split open by an external expert. Or was it split open by the pure energy of the void ocean? This canyon was actually a demonic beast corpse, and these king medicines were growing on the corpse of a demonic beast. Yan Ruyu and the northern demon also exclaimed when they heard this. This king medicine was at least 10,000 years old, which meant that the corpse had existed for at least 10,000 years. The void ocean was really terrifying. According to the corpse of the demon saint, its bones were very hard. It wouldn't be easy to get these king medicines. Let's hurry up and do it bit by bit. Ruyu, don't do anything. You stay outside and guard. We'll set up an array. Alert us if there's any danger. Yan Ruyu nodded. Then the crimson dragon set up an array to cover the surrounding scene. Otherwise, the 10,000-year-old spirit medicine would definitely attract the attention of other experts. It might even attract other sea demons. The crimson dragon was still puzzled. The sea demons should have been able to find this place. How could it be preserved? Soon they found out. The corpse of the sea demon below was really too terrifying. Even though it had been dead for so many years, it still emitted a terrifying aura. As soon as Lin Xian and the other two stepped on it, a cold, murderous aura enveloped them as if it wanted to tear them to pieces. Lin Xian sighed. He knew that it wouldn't be so easy to get the treasures. Usually, there would be demonic beasts guarding them. There were more than 10,000-year-old spirit medicines here. Without the protection of a powerful sea demon, one could imagine that there was something wrong with the corpse. As expected, it was very strong. Ordinary half-saints couldn't withstand it. They roared and began to resist with all their might. They not only had to resist the terrifying aura of the demon saint corpse below, but they also had to try their best to get the 10,000-year-old spirit medicines. It was very difficult. On the outside, Yenryu was checking the surroundings. Although the array covered everything, she was still not at ease. After about half a day, Lin Xian had plucked 6 of them, and there were still 5 floating there. Damn it, Ben Huang is exhausted. But the harvest was not bad. Looking at the 10,000-year-old spirit medicines, the Crimson Dragon was very excited. However, at this moment, Yenryu shouted. Someone was coming. Hearing that, Lin Xian and the other 2 frowned. Yenryu said, "You guys continue. I'll deal with it." She didn't move immediately. Instead, she stared ahead. A group of people walked over. There were a total of 5 people, and Yenryu knew one of them. Zhao Wuliang. It seemed that they should be from the Dark Moon Temple. If it was only Zhao Wuliang, Yenryu wouldn't be worried. But now, Zhao Wuliang was only one of the 5 people, and he was obviously not the leader. There was another person in front of Zhao Wuliang. He looked like a boy, but it was obvious that he was the leader. Yenryu frowned. It seemed that the other party was not a young genius, but a sage or an existence that had been sent down by a sage's clone. Zhao Wuliang and the others didn't notice anything, but the boy sage in front of them stopped. His eyes were filled with a strange light as he looked in all directions. Soon he sneered. There was actually an array here, and it was a concealment array. It seemed that the treasure should be here. He stretched out a large hand, which covered the sky and covered the earth. It was like a blood-colored cloud, and it slapped forward. "Oh no, I've been discovered." Yenryu sighed. Sages are indeed powerful. She could only walk out of the array. Similarly, she slapped towards the sky with her fair hand. Boom! 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 The fair hand collided with the blood-red hand, producing an earth-shaking sound. The blood-red hand was blocked, and Yenryu also took 2 steps back. There was indeed someone. The boy sage sneered, and the expressions of the 4 dark moon temple powerhouses behind him changed. Chapter 30, 345. Zhao Wuliang exclaimed, "Yenryu, it's you? Oh, you know her?" The child saint turned to look at Zhao Wuliang. Zhao Wuliang nodded. "That's right, elder. This person is Yenryu. She's very strong and is ranked above me, second only to Long Zhaotian. So she's Yenryu." The child saint understood. It was clear that Yenryu's reputation had also resounded throughout the myriad worlds. Not bad. She's indeed a peerless beauty. The child saint didn't look old, but a fiery light appeared in his eyes. Seeing the child saint's fiery gaze, Zhao Wuliang's lips curled into a cold smile. He knew that Yenryu was dead meat. The boy beside him was not ordinary. He was also an elder in the Dark Moon Divine Palace. His strength had already reached the sage level, but in order to enter the Void Ocean, there were some restrictions. Even so, he had surpassed the half-sage level. Moreover, the child saint liked beautiful women very much. He had never failed to capture anyone he set his eyes on. No matter how strong Yenryu was, she was only slightly stronger than him. How could she be a match for an elder? Thinking of this, Zhao Wuliang said again. Yenryu and Lin Wuti were very familiar. They might even be lovers. Since she was here, it meant that Lin Wuti should also be nearby. Perhaps he was in the hidden array, snatching the treasure. Hearing this, the child saint's eyes lit up. Lin Wuti? He naturally knew that Lin Wuti was the successor of the 9 sons and the successor of the great dragon. He also had the great destruction spear. If he could capture him and get the treasure in his hands, his future would be limitless. He might even be able to go further. At his age, he didn't dare to think about becoming a great emperor, but he could still break through to the great sage, sage king, and so on. Thinking of this, his eyes were burning. Then I'll capture this girl first, then break the array. The people and the treasure inside are all mine. Damn Zhao Wuliang. He was obviously adding fuel to the fire. Yan Ryu frowned. She glanced behind. Lin Xian and the other two were trying their best to seize the 10,000-year-old spiritual herb. They couldn't be disturbed. Moreover, if the news of the 10,000-year-old spiritual herb leaked, it would definitely alarm them. It would definitely alarm these people. If these people came together, they would definitely have sound transmission arrays in their hands. If the news got out, it would be really bad for them. Therefore, Yan Ryu took a deep breath and took a step forward. Her delicate body blocked everyone's path. If you want the treasure, you'll have to get past me first. What a reckless woman! Zhao Wuliang sneered. The child saint also narrowed his eyes. Not bad. I like this personality. The other two experts from the Dark Moon Divine Hall laughed. Elder, there's no need for you to do it yourself. Although we're no match for her in a one-on-one fight, the two of us can definitely take her down easily. All right, go ahead then. The child saint nodded and stood in the void with his hands behind his back. He seemed to be sizing up his prey. Zhao Wuliang didn't make a move either. However, the two experts from the Dark Moon Shrine beside him stepped forward. These two were also top-notch half-saints. It was just as Yan Ryu had said. No one was a match for Yan Ryu in a one-on-one battle. But if the two of them were to take action, they were confident that they could do it. The power of the two of them exploded in an instant. Water Dragon Prison. One of them waved the law of water and directly controlled the surrounding seawater to form a sea dragon. Like a cage, it completely enveloped Yan Ryu. The other person's body turned pitch black. Like a shadow, he quickly charged over. Like a shadow, the two experts, one of whom was a water-type expert, had a boost in strength in the sea. Their strength was very terrifying. Yan Ryu was instantly surrounded by an inescapable net. They wanted to completely suppress her. Beside them was a shadow-level assassin. How dare two mere half-saints try to kill me? You're overestimating yourselves. She shouted and suddenly pushed out her jade-like hand. Suddenly, the surrounding seawater violently tumbled and formed two giant sharks. They opened their mouths and completely shattered the 8 water dragon pillars. Not only that, but the great white shark even bit the shadow. Boom! The shadow exploded, forming thousands of phantoms and directly piercing through the seawater. At the same time, the other person's face darkened. Damn it, you also have the law of water. Yes, not only do I have the law of water, but I'm also more proficient in it than you. Yan Ryu pressed forward with her palm. Suddenly, the surrounding seawater changed. The water-type half-saint of the Dark Moon Temple was instantly enveloped by a huge blue wave. The wave was extremely terrifying and had mysterious Tao patterns on it. As it tumbled, it made him vomit blood. The law of shadow? But in the sea, how can you compare to my doppelganger? Yan Ryu's beautiful eyes shone with a piercing light. Then she formed a seal. The law of water danced nonstop. The power in her body also surged out as if she had become the master of the sea. In the endless seawater, Yan Ryu's beautiful face appeared. The number was much more than the black shadows in the sky. Kill! With a shout, the countless beautiful faces opened their red lips, and a terrifying sound wave swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The sound wave contained a terrifying killing intent, causing the countless black shadows to shatter. The half-saint of the dark shadow was also forced back. He vomited blood, and his face was extremely pale. Damn it, a sound wave soul attack. His soul had been severely injured. Zhao Wuliang and the others were also frightened. The sound wave was too terrifying. They were caught off guard and almost got hit. Fortunately, there was a child saint standing beside them. At the critical moment, he opened his saint domain and blocked the sound wave. Elder, this woman is too strange. Let's ask the elder to deal with her personally. Zhao Wuliang whispered at the side. If 2 half-saints couldn't take her down, It would be useless to send another one. He also didn't dare to act rashly. Therefore, he hoped that the child saint would act quickly. The child saint also narrowed his eyes. She has some tricks. All right, I'll do it personally. He looked forward and said coldly, "The seawater is too blue. I don't like it. I like red." As he spoke, the surrounding seawater tumbled and turned red as if it was dripping blood. A monstrous blood aura rushed towards them. Yenryu instantly frowned. What a terrifying blood-colored aura. This person cultivated the blood fiend Tao. This was the law of blood. As expected, the blood around them was too terrifying. The aura could make an ordinary half-saint faint instantly. Surrender obediently. I don't want to hurt you. Otherwise, if I really attack, I'm afraid you'll suffer. My blood-imbibing blade hasn't drunk the blood of a peerless beauty for a long time. As he spoke, a blood-red long blade appeared in the seawater. It shone with a demonic light. Chapter 3346. The Blade of Law. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary blade of law. Yenryu's expression instantly became incomparably solemn. They could also condense a law weapon. However, there were two types of such weapons. One was condensed in an instant and dissipated between heaven and earth after the battle. The other was condensed in the body and used the body's power to cultivate it over a long period of time. This kind of law weapon was almost the same as a true sacred artifact. In fact, if a powerful saint cultivated a law weapon for thousands of years, its power would probably be even more terrifying than an ordinary sacred artifact. Of course, law weapons still had their shortcomings. If you didn't continue to give it power, its power would become weaker and weaker. In the end, it would dissipate between heaven and earth. However, a sacred artifact was different. Once it was refined, its power wouldn't change and would even become stronger. Therefore, as long as one was a saint, they would dream of having their own sacred artifact. However, a sacred artifact? It was also extremely precious. After all, the materials used to refine a sacred artifact had to be very top-notch. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to withstand the power of the Tao patterns. The child saint in front of her clearly didn't have a true sacred artifact. Moreover, looking at the power of the law weapon, Yenryu guessed wrong. It wasn't 1,000 years old, but only 500 to 600 years old. However, it was only 500 to 600 years old, and it was already not something that those half-saints could resist. Yenryu also felt a great sense of crisis. Sure enough, with a slash, the divine ability around her was split in half. She instantly moved away, and the afterimage was shattered. The robes on his body also began to flutter. Seeing this scene, Zhao Wuliang and the others all laughed. As expected, no matter how powerful the other party was, it was impossible for him to be compared to a true saint. Moreover, it was a 500-year law weapon. It was quite fast, but you can't dodge my attacks. I was just casually attacking just now. The child saint seemed to be enjoying this fun and wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Yenryu's face darkened. A mere 500-year law weapon dared to be arrogant in front of her? Fine, I'll let you see my methods today. She shouted, and a green light rose from her body. A terrifying and monstrous power instantly erupted. Between heaven and earth, there seemed to be a behemoth awakening, causing Zhao Wuliang and the others to feel the blood in their bodies freeze, and they couldn't breathe. Damn it, what was that? Zhao Wuliang and the others went crazy. They didn't expect Yenryu to have such a trump card. The child saint's face, Yenryu, a blood-red light burst out from his eyes, turning into two blood-red vortexes, and he stared at Yenryu. It was as if he wanted to devour her. What a terrifying aura! Could it be a sacred artifact? She actually had a sacred artifact in her body. What a pleasant surprise! If I capture you, I might be able to obtain a true sacred artifact. The child saint was overjoyed. He no longer hesitated. With a wave of his arm, he grabbed the blood-imbibing saber and slashed down. The power of this saber strike was boundless. A half-saint simply couldn't block it. Yenryu shouted and pushed out her palm. At that moment, her body was completely enveloped by the azure color. Even her eyebrows and hair seemed to have turned azure. The strange palm was also covered with green lines that looked like runes. The mysterious power instantly gushed out. With a boom, a shocking sound rang out. The surrounding seawater was split apart, spreading for who knew how many tens of thousands of li. The sky fell and the earth cracked. The violent roar shook all directions. Inside the formation, Lin Xian and the others had long noticed this. When they saw this scene, their expressions changed. They could not help but worry. But soon, Lin Xian smiled and said, "Ryu is fine. Let's hurry up and get the remaining 3 out." Ka. There was a shattering sound between heaven and earth, followed by a cry of surprise. How could it be? My blood-imbibing saber. How could it be broken? When the light in the sky disappeared, the child saint's face was full of horror. The blood-imbibing saber in his hand had been torn apart, leaving only the hilt in his hand. Zhao Wuliang and the others were dumbfounded. This was a 500-year-old law blade, but it was broken in the collision just now. How could it be? Could it be that her palm was a sacred artifact? Damn it! What exactly is that green light in his body? Their scalps were numb, and the child saint's face was gloomy. How dare you destroy my 500-year-old law weapon? I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. He was truly furious. Killing intent spread rapidly from his body, and a monstrous sea of blood quickly revolved around him. At this moment, the child saint was like an Azura. Just one look at him could make people faint. Do you really think you are my match? Yenryu shouted. 2 green runes appeared in her eyes. It was extremely strange. The green light on her body was even more terrifying, as if a green figure was attached to her body. Boom! Her palm slammed out. The green light flew out with an unparalleled aura, causing the whole world to shake. On the other side, the child saint also shouted angrily, "Suppress!" He used his sacred domain. As long as he could pull the other party into his sacred domain, he would be the ruler, no matter how strong the other party was. They could not do anything to him. The monstrous sea of blood turned into a small world, enveloping Yenryu. Success! The child saint smiled. He would make the other party suffer a fate worse than death. But in the next moment, his smile disappeared from his face. Because his opponent's palm had created a hole in his sacred domain. Guh! He spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was dazed. How could it be? His sacred domain was also pierced by the other party. What kind of power was this? The other party was only a half-saint. Even if she had a sacred artifact in her hand, she could not unleash its full power. But why was there such power? He did not know, he could not understand. However, in the next moment he was sent flying, many cracks appearing on his body. Ah! A miserable cry rang out. Zhao Wuliang and the other 4 were dumbfounded. They could not help but tremble. The power of a half-saint? Even inside the formation, the Crimson Dragon and the others could not help but be surprised when they saw this scene. Northern Demon looked as if he had seen a ghost. When did Yenryu become so powerful? The Crimson Dragon said, "I have long felt that there is a mysterious power in this girl's body that I can't figure out. Now it seems that it is indeed so. This power is very strong. Kid, it is not weaker than the thing in your body." Lin Xian was also surprised. The thing in his body was the dragon's sword soul. Could it be that there was also a supreme power in Yenryu's body? He did not know, but he could feel that when Yenryu used that power, the dragon's sword soul in his body had already roared excitedly. It wanted to rush out, if not for him suppressing it. It would have already been filled with sword chi. Something that could cause the dragon's sword soul to react so strangely was definitely not ordinary. Chapter 3347. At this time, Lin Xian and the others also took out the last 3 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs. Then they waved their hands and removed the array formation. Outside, the scream stopped. The child saint's body had healed, but his expression was extremely ugly. As for Zhao Wuliang and the other 4 Dark Moon Temple experts, they were also terrified. At this time, they saw the array formation in front of them disappear. Then 3 figures walked out. When he saw one of the figures, Zhao Wuliang looked as if he had seen a ghost and almost knelt on the ground. Lin Wudi, it was him. He was really here. Zhao Wuliang was really scared. If he was full of confidence before and thought that they had a saint on their side, they could definitely kill the other party. But now he didn't dare to think so. Just Yan Ruyu alone had the power to injure a saint. In addition, there was Lin Wudi, the North Demon and a dragon race powerhouse. This lineup was too strong. Even if they all attacked, they probably couldn't do anything to the other party. Instead, they might have to face death. Elders. In an instant, they looked at the child saint. The child saint's face was cold. He stared at the 3 new figures, and then stared at one of them. It was Lin Wudi. Hand over the treasures on your body, and I can spare your life. Haha, Lin Xian laughed. You're already beaten up like this, and you still dare to think about the treasures? You must be tired of living. Or have you been a saint for too long and don't know the changes in the outside world? Do you think you have the right to be arrogant in front of us? Lin Xian's words were full of disdain, which made the child saint furious. Damn it, damn it. A mere half-step saint dared to be arrogant in front of him? He was a saint who transcended heaven and earth and was above a half-step saint. When a half-step saint saw him, they had to bow their head respectfully. Who dared to be impudent in front of him? Even Zhao Wuliang had to be respectful to him, but the person in front of him dared to mock him. It was really intolerable. Die for me. The surrounding blood sea instantly changed. 2 blood-red vortexes, which looked like 2 gigantic canopies, slashed towards Lin Xian. If he could hit him, he would be able to cut Lin Xian into 3 pieces. When the Crimson Dragon and the North Goblin sensed the blood-colored energy, their bodies shook and they quickly retreated. Lin Xian sneered. Pulling out the Great Destruction Spear, the 9-yang divine body completely erupted. It swept across and formed a black torrent. In an instant, the 2 blood-red vortexes were sent flying. He laughed coldly. A saint was nothing more than this. Great Spear of Destruction. The boy saint's pupils constricted as he stared at the pitch-black weapon. Was this the Great Spear of Destruction? It was indeed very strong. It was definitely a saint artifact. Furthermore, it was an extremely terrifying saint artifact. Brat, the only reason you can block my divine ability is because of the great annihilation spear in your hand. Without this weapon, you are nothing in front of me, the child saint said coldly. Lin Xian sneered in disdain. Is that so? I relied on my weapon. Then what did you rely on? I am not even 100 years old this year, but what about you? You are at least 2,000 to 3,000 years old. You have lived 2,000 to 3,000 years longer than me. Did your cultivation go to waste? If you weren't a saint today, I would be able to destroy your body and soul with a single slap if we were on the same level. Do you still have the right to be arrogant in front of me? Lin Xian was really disdainful. The child saint was so angry that he vomited blood. He did not expect that not only would he fail to act cool in front of the other party, but he would also be ruthlessly slapped in the face. Was the other party really less than 100 years old? If that was the case, then it was too terrifying. He had to quickly kill such a peerless genius. Otherwise, he would be his nightmare in the future. Attack together and kill him. Hearing the child saint's words, Zhao Wuliang and the others hesitated. Yan Ruyu and Lin Wudi both had the combat strength of a saint. Would they be able to fight them? But they did not dare to resist. Otherwise, they would be immediately killed. Therefore, Zhou Wu and the others could only bite the bullet and charge forward. Among them, Zhao Wuliang charged towards the North Goblin. It seemed that he could only defeat the North Goblin. As for Yan Ryu and Lin Wudi, he did not dare to fight. Seeing where Zhao Wuliang went, Lin Xian sneered. "Trash! You don't even have the courage to face me. What is a trash like you still living in this world for?" The great spear of destruction carried a terrifying demonic aura and terrifying power. A dragon's roar resounded through the world. "No, Elder, save me." Zhao Wuliang was scared out of his wits. He used all his strength and struck out with a shocking attack. At the same time, he screamed crazily. He did not expect that he would still have to face Lin Wudi. Moreover, he realized that the other party's attack was too strong. It made him feel as if he had fallen into a 10,000-year-old ice cave. In the next moment, a shocking collision sound rang out. Zhao Wuliang felt his hand shatter. Then it was his arms and then his body. They all collapsed into pieces. A black light pierced through his heart. Then there was a scream of pain. Zhao Wuliang was scared out of his wits. His soul instantly left his body, hugged a piece of jade, and fled into the distance. The direction he ran in was the child saint's direction. He wanted to inform the saint to save his life, courting death. The child saint was also furious. Although Zhao Wuliang had just joined their Dark Moon Temple, his talent was definitely not bad. Such a person could definitely become a saint in the future. But now, their genius couldn't even withstand a single attack from the other party. What was even more despicable was that he saw the other party holding the great spear of destruction and attacking again, courting death. The child saint struck out with his palm. On his palm, there was a monstrous, blood-colored law that transformed into a divine chain of hell, wanting to send Zhao Wuliang to the 18th level of hell. Buzz! Lin Xian did not hold back. The great dragon sword soul surged into the great spear of destruction, and its power erupted. With one strike, it pierced through the blood-colored palm. Saint blood floated down, piercing through everything. This was the blood of a true saint. The energy contained in it was too terrifying. The crimson dragon took out a blood-colored gourd and began to absorb the saint blood. In the future, these could be used as materials to create array formations or other things. Lin Xian forcefully pierced through the saint's palm and then arrived in front of Zhao Wuliang's soul. Zhao Wuliang was scared out of his wits. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "Spare my life, spare me. I won't dare to go against you in the future." "Spare you? Sure, I'll plant a slave mark on you and make you my slave from now on. Are you willing?" Lin Xian's voice was sonorous. Zhao Wuliang was stunned. What? Become his slave? Never to be able to rise again. In that case, he might as well die. "Since you're unwilling, then go to hell." Lin Xian snorted coldly. Golden runes scattered from his eyes. A soul attack instantly caused Zhao Wuliang's soul to scream. It seemed that he had been hit by an eye technique and would probably be tortured for hundreds or thousands of years. Gradually, Zhao Wuliang's screams became weaker and weaker. They were directly extinguished by Lin Xian's palm. However, he definitely had the inheritance of the Sage King. Yan Ruyu's words caused the child saint's expression to completely change. He hurriedly said, "I'm only a first-layer saint. How could I have the chance to learn the Saint King's inheritance? I'm not qualified enough in the Dark Moon Divine Palace, and I can't get in touch with the core things. If the two of you let me go, I will definitely not be your enemy in the future. There was no inheritance of the Sage King? In other words, there's no point in keeping you alive. Since that's the case, why don't we just kill you? We won't let the tiger return to the mountain." Lin Xian held the great spear of destruction. On the other side, Yan Ryu's body was also surrounded by a green light. "Damn it, two juniors. You've gone too far. I'll fight it out with you." The child saint roared as if he had gone mad. However, how could he be a match for the two of them? He might not even be able to defeat the two of them in a one-on-one fight, let alone being besieged by the two of them. Therefore, after dozens of moves, the child saint's body was pierced and torn into pieces. His soul held a blood-red knife and quickly flew out as a shield. "Stay here for me." Lin Xian waved the great spear of destruction and directly cut off the other party's path. The dragon roar on the great spear of destruction rumbled, and the soul kept rolling and turning dim. At this moment, Yenryu added another palm strike. With a boom, the other party's soul was completely shattered. A saint's body and soul were also afraid of being destroyed. "Great, clean up the battlefield." The Crimson Dragon and Yenryu also killed 4 half-saints. They used the blood gourd to collect the blood of the saints and refined it. Lin Xian, on the other hand, took their storage rings. This was a great harvest. Not only did they obtain 11 10,000-year-old king herbs, but they also obtained a saint's storage ring and 5 half-saints' storage rings. "Come, let's quickly distribute the spoils of war." Lin Xian and the others waved their hands, enveloping the surrounding scene. Then, they began to distribute the spoils of war. The Crimson Dragon was extremely excited. The North Demon and Yenryu also smiled. This time they had really gained a lot. Lin Xian found some spiritual fruits in the saint's storage ring and gave them to Little White. Little White ate happily. Then he obtained some pills. These pills were all for the saints to cultivate. Lin Xian also distributed some. He didn't keep them for himself because he was almost able to cultivate saint-level pills. It seemed that after leaving the limitless ocean and becoming a saint, he would have to open the great void divine furnace again. At this moment, in another place in the limitless ocean, a great battle was breaking out. One of the men held a long spear and his expression was cold. However, blood was flowing from his body, and there were several terrifying cracks on his body. His body had nearly split into 2 halves. "Lu Mu, you can't escape. You're not our match. Hurry up and kneel down and submit to us. Then we might let you live. As for the treasure, it's ours. You don't have the right to take it." Many people around him sneered. Among them, there were people from the Vermilion Bird Duke, people from the Dark Moon Temple, and even people from other families and forces. Beside Lu Mu was a young woman. She was his junior sister. At this moment, she was also covered in blood. Her face was filled with despair. Lu Mu clenched the long spear in his hand and gritted his teeth. "Long Zhaotian, are you really going to kill us all?" Among the few people in front, one of them was standing there. It was Long Zhaotian. He had a sinister smile on his face. "So what if I'm going to kill you all? To be honest, you're not my match in a one-on-one fight." Now, there are so many other experts. There were a total of 7 people here. It was already surprising that Lu Mu could last until now. "Senior brother, don't worry about me. Hurry up and run. You're burning your life. It won't take long." The woman in green said quickly. She knew that the reason Lu Mu could withstand the attacks of the 7 people wasn't because his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. It was because he had used a secret technique. It was a technique that burned one's life and blood in exchange for unparalleled power. However, this power couldn't last for long. Once his blood and life ran out, Lu Mu would be like a lamp without oil. He wouldn't be able to resist anymore. Chapter 30, 349. Junior sister, it's my fault. I shouldn't have let you follow me. Maybe I should join a big faction. Lu Mu sighed. His eyes were filled with despair. The girl in green beside him shook her head. "No, senior brother, leave. Don't worry about me. You're alive. You're a genius. You'll become a saint sooner or later. There's no need to sacrifice yourself for me." Lu Mu took a deep breath as a look of love appeared in his eyes. How could I abandon you? Junior sister. Io, this is really touching. Long Zhaotian sneered. Why don't you go to hell together and be a couple? Brother Long, that's not right. That girl is so beautiful. It's a pity to kill her. Why don't you give her to me? At this moment, someone from Vermilion Bird Palace said with a smile. The flames on his body turned into the shape of a golden crow. It was terrifying. It seemed that he had the golden crow bloodline. If you like her, I'll give her to you. Long Zhaodian laughed. Lu Mu's expression changed. The girl in green beside him also had an ugly expression. Damn it. You dare to touch my junior sister? My Ryu family won't let you go. He clenched his teeth and shot a green light into the sky. To be honest, these people were very powerful. Lu Mu didn't want to drag his family into this. But now, these people wanted to attack his junior sister. He had to do this. This signal was to summon the family's experts. Seeing the other party attack, the youth with the golden crow bloodline sneered. The flames on his body were like a sun, instantly enveloping the green light. Then it was engulfed and burned. You want to ask for help? You won't have a chance. Attack! Don't give this kid a chance to fight back. Long Zhaotian said coldly. The surrounding experts also walked over and laughed sinisterly. Senior brother, leave. The girl in green screamed. But Lu Mu roared again. His blood and qi burned. He was burning his life force. His combat power became stronger again. An intense battle broke out. Long Zhaotian sneered. Let's see how long you can last. They moved and surrounded the other party. Finally, Long Zhaotian found a chance to use Dragon roaming the world. A powerful force exploded. Against Lu Mu's attack, the others also went up to injure him. Hee, igniting his bloodline power? Those people sneered. Lu Mu suddenly burst forth. The long spear in his hand drew out a stream of light. With the power of laws, it pierced into the void. Wong. He stabbed the man from the Golden Crow clan. The man was scared out of his wits and tried his best to dodge. In the end, the long spear brushed past his body, leaving a bloody mark. Courting death. Jin Wu Lai roared furiously. His palm turned into the phantom of a demonic beast and rushed out. The monstrous law of fire was waved and hit Lu Mu directly. Boom! A hole appeared in Lu Mu's chest and blood kept flowing out. Damn it, you actually dared to injure me. I'm going to play your junior sister to death in front of you. As he spoke, Golden Crow Lai waved his hand and a powerful golden claw enveloped the girl in green. The towering flames ignited the aura of the woman in green. Many parts of her green robe were tattered. No, Lu Mu was in despair. The green-robed woman also screamed like a madwoman. However, at this moment of crisis, a palm descended from the sky. In an instant, Jean Wulia was sent flying. Boom! He vomited blood and flew backward. Half of his face was asleep. Who dares to interfere in my business? Jean Wulia roared crazily. The flames on his body burst out like a demonic beast hovering in the air. 7 people ganging up on 2 people. How shameless! A sneer was heard, followed by 4 figures descending from the sky. Who are you people? Jean Wulia roared furiously. However, his eyes lit up when he saw that the first person to descend was a woman in white. What a beautiful woman! He realized that the woman in white was much more beautiful than the green-robed woman from before. She could be said to be devastatingly beautiful. However, Long Zhaotian's expression changed. Yan Ruyu, it's you. He looked behind him again. In the next moment, he was scared out of his wits. Lin Wudi, the northern demon. Heavens, Lin Wudi is here as well. Damn it, run. Long Zhaotian turned around and fled without another word. He looked as if he had seen a ghost. The people from the Dark Moon Temple and Vermilion Bird Palace were also stunned. Some of the people from the other families were also looking at them with an adorable expression. They all knew who Long Zhaotian was. He was a powerhouse in the Dragon Valley. Who could have defeated him? Could it be that one of the people in front of them was a sage? They sensed carefully, but did not find anyone with the aura of a sage. The people from Vermilion Bird Palace did not recognize Lin Xian either. After all, not everyone was there to watch the battle. They only knew of Lin Wudi's name, but had never seen him in person. Therefore they sneered. If that's the case, I won't hold back. After being rescued, the green-robed woman looked at Yan Ruyu gratefully. Lu Mu was trembling with excitement. You're here. You're here. He naturally recognized Lin Xian and the others. Lin Xian looked at the other party and frowned slightly. The other party's aura was very weak. It seemed that he had fought with his life on the line. There was probably no way to save him. Lu Mu looked at Lin Xian and opened his mouth slightly. Lin Xian walked over. What do you want to say? He squatted down and asked. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to die here. There are treasures below. You must protect my junior sister. Lu Mu stretched out a trembling hand and placed it in front of Lin Xian. Then his aura became weaker and weaker. Finally, his gaze moved away from Lin Xian and looked at the green-robed woman with a smile. In the next moment, his aura was gone. No, senior brother, the green-robed woman screamed crazily. Lin Xian sighed and took the key from her hand. Then he stood up and nodded. Don't worry. I'll help you fulfill your last wish. I'll protect your junior sister. I'll also help you kill these people. You can rest in peace. As he spoke, he turned around and looked forward. The green-robed woman hugged Lu Mu's corpse and cried bitterly. Yan Ruyu and the others frowned. Was there no way to save him? Lin Xian shook his head. He had burned his own life as the price to display his super strength. Fortunately, he had used up too much energy. There was no way to save him. Now he could only avenge him. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent as he looked forward. You still want to kill us? You still want to avenge Lu Mu? You really don't know what's good for you? The people of the Dark Moon Temple sneered. In addition, the people of the other families stared at Lin Xian. Kid, what did Lu Mu give you just now? Hand it over and we'll spare your life. Jean Wulia laughed sinisterly. Cut the crap. Attack together and kill him. That white-robed woman is mine. I'll kill you first. Lin Xian stared at Jean Wulia. The aura on his body erupted and turned into a golden fist. It was burning with raging flames and rushed out. Chapter 3350. His fist turned into the shape of a golden crow. Despicable human, who do you think you are? How dare you use my golden crow's divine ability? Jean Wulai was furious. He had the bloodline of the golden crow, so the phantoms on his body carried the aura of the golden crow. How dare his opponent use the divine ability of the golden crow? He was courting death. The raging flames on his body surged forward. Die. He wanted to burn his opponent to death with his flames. Although he was a genius of the Vermilion Bird Palace, he had the bloodline of the golden crow, so the flames on his body were extremely terrifying. He was confident that he would not lose to Yan Nantian in terms of fire attribute divine ability. However, his good luck came to an end. He met Lin Xian. Lin Xian's 9-sun fist turned into a golden stream of light and rushed into the sea of flames. It bombarded all directions. The surrounding flames surged, and a hole was punched out. A golden fist came in front of Jean Wulai. How is this possible? Jean Wulai's expression changed. How can his opponent be so powerful? He wanted to escape, but his head was blown off by the punch. He wanted to escape with his soul. The 9-sun divine fire ignited his soul in an instant. Miserable cries rang out. In just an instant, his soul was extinguished, and his headless body fell down with blood gushing out. The surrounding experts were all stunned and swallowed their saliva. Is Jean Wulai dead? Was he killed by a punch? Who is this person? Even if Jean Wulia wasn't the strongest among them, he was at least in the top 3. But now he could not even block a punch from his opponent. Who are you? The other experts asked in a trembling voice. I am Lin Wudi. You should all die. What? Lin Wudi? You are Lin Wudi? The surrounding people were all stunned, and their faces were full of horror. The person in front of them was Lin Wudi. He was the one who suppressed Yin Nantian. Now they finally knew why Long Zhaotian had fled at the first moment. He had already recognized him. Damn it, don't you people of the Vermilion Bird Palace know him? The people of the Dark Moon Temple roared crazily. The faces of the people from the other clans also turned ugly. The people of the Vermilion Bird Palace were filled with regret. How could we know him? We didn't participate in that battle. We only knew his name. Why are you complaining? Run. They fled in all directions as if they had gone mad. This method of escape was the most effective because there was always someone who could escape. Trying to escape, Lin Xian stomped his foot, causing the earth to tremble. Endless waves rolled and turned into sea dragons that rushed out. Lin Xian also knew the law of water, so his strength was equally terrifying in the sea. Boom! Boom! How could these people be a match for Lin Xian? Therefore, in an instant, they were torn apart by the sea dragon, and even their souls were devoured. Screams of agony rang out, and then they all disappeared. Blood dyed the bottom of the sea red, spreading in all directions with the current. Lin Xian turned his head and looked at Lu Mu's corpse. I have already killed your enemy for you. There's still Long Zhaotian left, but I won't let him go. As for your junior sister's safety, Before Lin Xian could finish, his pupils shrank. The surrounding people also exclaimed in surprise. The woman in green hugged Lu Mu's corpse, her face full of tears. Suddenly, she pulled out a dagger that shone with a cold light and stabbed it towards her own heart. Poof! Blood spurted out, and the woman in green fell into Lu Mu's arms. Senior brother, I'll accompany you on the road to the Yellow Springs. You won't be lonely. No, how could it be like this? Yan Ryu hurriedly squatted down and tried to save her, but the woman in green said, It's useless. The dagger is coated with poison. Anyone below the Saint Realm will die. If you don't need it, save me. Damn, how could it be like this? The Crimson Dragon also let out a strange cry. Lin Xian frowned and took a deep breath. The law of wood rushed out. At the same time, the power of the great dragon sword soul also rushed into the woman in green's body, destroying all the poison. Miraculously, the woman in green's aura was declining, but it quickly recovered. How could it be? I'm not dead. The woman in green screamed. She found it hard to believe. She couldn't even die now. Lin Xian said, I promised you that I won't let you die. Moreover, you shouldn't die. I think Lu Mu doesn't want you to die either. As he spoke, Lin Xian waved his hand and made the woman in green fall asleep temporarily. Then he sent her to the spirit boat. At the same time, he asked He Tu to take care of Lu Mu's corpse. Then he flipped his hand and took out the simple key. This was given to me by Lu Mu when he was alive. Moreover, he guarded this place to death. I think there should be a treasure nearby. Behind, I saw the cave entrance. The Crimson Dragon pointed to the back and said, All right, let's go in and take a look. Lin Xian and the others took a deep breath and walked forward. There was indeed a cave abode in front of them. After going deeper, they found a bronze door. The bronze door was covered with Dao runes and flickered with unparalleled power. It was obvious that this was the cave abode of a sage. Moreover, it was very difficult to open it with external force. No wonder these people wanted to snatch this key. Lin Xian put the key in his hand into the bronze door and then turned it forcefully. Suddenly, a clicking sound was heard and the bronze door slowly opened. Let's go in. Everyone be careful, Lin Xian said as layers of light appeared on his body. The others also activated their defenses. After entering, the bronze door closed again. Lin Xian and the others looked around. This cave abode was not complicated. There was only a large hall. In the middle, there was a skeleton sitting cross-legged. It was a colorful skeleton. There was no flesh and blood, but the skeleton was still sitting there cross-legged. It seemed to have died during cultivation. The crimson dragon went forward and observed carefully. Then he said, "It should have reached the end of its lifespan and died of natural causes." Hearing that, the others nodded. At that moment, the northern demon exclaimed, "Look, there's something on the wall." They looked towards the wall. Indeed, there were patterns painted on the wall. There were 4 walls, and each wall was painted with many patterns. Lin Xian and the others glanced at it and realized that it should be a kind of divine martial art. Moreover, it was an extremely profound divine martial art. The Crimson Dragon even said excitedly, "It might be a nomological divine martial art. Let's quickly find one to comprehend." Each of them stood on a wall and began to comprehend with all their might. Lin Xian came to the northern wall and looked at the Tao runes carved on the wall. He gradually became shocked. At first, he could not see anything, but gradually, Lin Xian realized that the surrounding Tao runes were all flowing. Then he seemed to see a boundless pitch-black sea, and a colossal creature charged out. It was a fish, a black fish. It was extremely terrifying, like a black, demonic mountain. It rose into the air and began to transform. It grew golden wings and seemed to transform into a huge golden bird that soared into the sky. This is Kuan Peng. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.